Oh, thank you. Good evening. This is a conference meeting of the Council of the Township of Montclair and is being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live on Montclair TV 34 YouTube channel. It's available on demand and can and will be rebroadcast. The Sunshine Statement is thus: this meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting is included in the revised annual notice of the meeting schedule as set forth in Resolution R-24-174, adopted by the Township Council at its regular meeting of July 17, 2024, transmitted to the official newspaper on July 24, 24, posted on the bulletin boards outside the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted. In addition, a copy of the revised annual notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Township Clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor Anderson?
Here.
Councilor Birmingham?
Here.
Councilor D'Amato?
Present.
Councilor Lockman?
Here.
Councilor Toller?
Present.
Councilor Williams?
Here.
Mayor Baskerville?
Present.
Thank you.
They have been presented to the council the minutes of October 29th, 24. Are there any corrections or additions or anything anyone would like to discuss regarding those minutes? Okay. All those that are in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
I so moved.
Second? Anyone that is all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Good. Okay. At this time, Councilor Eileen Birmingham will present a proclamation. Now, there are people here that are here to present, to accept the proclamation. We have a proclamation for the Transgender Awareness Month. Anyone like to come and stand to receive the proclamation for Transgender Month? Please come forward.
Thank you. Thanks, Noah. Come on up. Hi.
This way. I'll stand with you.
I believe this way. Thank you all for being here. November is Transgender Awareness Month, so the council would like to acknowledge this important month with a proclamation, and thank you all for being here tonight. Whereas each year on November 20th, the world observes Transgender Day of Remembrance to mourn and honor memories of transgender people whose lives were lost to transphobic violence. And whereas Montclair's greatest strength is its diversity of people, and we stand united in our respect for each individual's identity. And whereas Montclair seeks to promote compassion, acceptance, protection, awareness, and visibility to the transgender and non-binary community in today's political climate and in the state of New Jersey. And whereas, according to the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, GLSEN, 29% of the transgender community lives in poverty. 74% of transgender youth report verbal harassment at school due to their gender identity and expression. 55% of transgender youth report physical violence and attacks due to their gender identity and expression. And whereas the National Library of Medicine released data in 2022 that shows that 82% of transgender people considered suicide, and that approximately 40% of that population has attempted suicide. And whereas the Township of Montclair stands in support of the LGBTQ community by declaring November as Transgender Awareness Month, to stand up for those whose voices have been drowned out and silenced by hate and violence, so that transgender humans may continue to lead safe and productive lives as their true selves. Now, therefore, the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair do hereby proclaim November 2024 as Transgender Awareness Month in Montclair. Thank you. And I want to thank you all for being here, and I know Rabina is here as several members of Out Montclair, and Reggie. Yeah. And I know you're here from the county, and I really, I know we all appreciate it, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wants to say? I just wanted to say that the transgender community is part of our community. People are people, and until we get to that point where people accept everyone, no matter what their sexual identification is, and it's not even sexual, it's just identification of who you want to be and who you are and how you express yourself. Mm-hmm. Until we get to that point, we will always be fighting for equal rights for everyone. We know that especially the Black trans community is targeted constantly, and unfortunately our environment doesn't make it any easier as we go into the next few years looking forward. We know that we have to still stand up and make sure that people know we support them so that they can feel that they have a place and a safe place. Because the other side of that is just too sad, too horrific to think about. We need to be able to protect and give people support that they need. And not only the LGBTQ plus community, but all communities that are being targeted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now,
I'll echo thank you, Mayor. I
Yes.
apologize. I'll echo everything that Rabina said. It's really important that you all take the time to acknowledge those who are part of marginalized communities. I remember the quote by Tip O'Neill that says all politics are local, and what you all are doing here today is signaling to the trans and non-binary community that they're welcomed here in the Township of Montclair. We can't, unfortunately, things happen the way they happened on Tuesday, but you all are sending a message to the nation that this township will protect trans and non-binary individuals. So I want to thank you all for your forward-thinking leadership. You have allyship here from the county level through our county executive, Joseph DiVincenzo. So again, thank you for your leadership and thank you for your partnership.
thank you, thank you.
I have the honor and privilege of serving as the director of the Essex County Office of LGBTQ Affairs, one of 4 in the state, and we're going to keep pushing forward for the rest of this year and the rest of the 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, at this time, we are going to have public comment, and we're going to have a period of public comment that is going to be for no more than 1 hour. We didn't do roll call, did we? We did, okay. We're going to have up to 1 hour to conclude the public comment, and each person that comes may have 3 minutes. Please sign up at the table up front, and then when you come to the mic, would you please clearly announce your first and last name for us, and we welcome you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I feel great. My name is Noah Gale. I live at 34 Ardsley Road in the second ward in Montclair, New Jersey, 07042. And I wanted to say I feel grateful for this as we head into Thanksgiving and holiday season. I feel grateful for Mayor Dr. Renee Elise Baskerville, as well as her township council colleagues. I appreciate you, this current administration, this current town council. I thank you for all you do in Montclair, and I really appreciate you. You came in July, and you are get it done people, and we love you so much. I cherish every moment with you.
We love you too, Noah. Thank you
Anyway.
very much. Oh, you have more. Sorry.
I did want to talk about first night, however, New Year's Eve, because I have a friend with me tonight. I don't know where he went. Oh, could you come up with me, Jeremy? You're welcome to present with me at the... Thank you. I'm going to let him talk too, actually, after I'm done. We would like to try out a pilot first night and bring it back this year after a multi-year hiatus to see how many people show up. We won't even charge that much. We will just see how many people come. We'll try it out. And because years ago there was this wonderful event I missed so much on New Year's Eve. So if we could bring first night back for this year and try it out for this year, that would be great. Thank you. If not, maybe next year. You can go now, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the,
Excuse me, did you sign in?
no,
Would you
I'm
please, and then give us your first and last
Oh, I'm
name?
sorry. I'm
Thank
sorry about that. I
No
apologize.
worries. You did great. Thank you, Noah.
okay, just to continue what Noah was saying, that we were thinking about doing first night, what he was
Can you
explaining.
please identify
Oh, I'm
yourself?
sorry.
We
My
know
name-
who you are, but the
Yes.
people at home. Thank you.
Hello, everybody at home. My name is Jeremy Fulbatana. So to piggyback off what Noah was saying, we were thinking about first night and bringing that back. What he explained to me is that I believe last year, or the last time you had it, 2 years ago.
No, it was actually over a decade ago.
Oh,
It was a while ago.
well, the last time you had it was at a school, or was it at Hillside School, or if it was at one facility
it was a long
where
time.
people showed up and they got to celebrate and bring in the new year together for first night. I'm not sure about the charging. We need to figure out all the logistics and everything like that, but it would be, I guess, the approval of the town council and the township to have the, a public space like that open, that late. I'm assuming we have to do a little bit more research. I came to support Noah. I was shocked to be up here right now, but I definitely support that. I think it's a great event he was telling me about. I'm looking more into it, but yeah, so if that's something that we can consider, if it's too soon or too early to do this year, we can definitely plan for next year. But we'll leave it in your hands if that's the case. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming. Next guest, please.
Hi, I'm Sarah Avery.
Good evening.
You're going to start the clock. The purpose of our zoning laws is to protect diversity, equity, and community. As a result of the town planner's guidance, an entire community has been disenfranchised. The historically African American neighborhood of Mission New, Washington and Wheeler Streets has been exploited by Malgorzata Dolgan, owner of 51 New Street. This neighborhood has long been identified as needing inclusionary housing, but the town planner has ignored the needs of this community in favor of greedy developers. There was a plan in 2006 to focus redevelopment of the area, addressing dilapidation, code violations, vacancy, safety, and the lack or deterioration of public improvements, all of which the CDBG funds could have been used for, but were instead diverted to road and sewer improvements, which should have been repaired with our tax dollars. Instead of providing affordable housing for community members, this neighborhood was sold out and converted to luxury housing. Ms. Dolgan was granted 43 variances on 14 properties. The reasoning for granting these variances concluded that the owner proved exceptional and undue hardship, and that the variance could be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without substantially impairing intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. That is completely false. These properties have returned to her over 200% on her investment. When two parties enter into a transaction, the consideration given up by one party in exchange for goods or services must be of commensurate value. A paltry payment of $9,800 to execute this easement is not commensurate, as a very significant percentage of the structure is built on township-owned land. Considering how much wealth Ms. Dolgan has extracted from this neighborhood, she owes the community much more. When the mayor and council approve transactions that lack economic viability, equity in the community is undermined. It is disappointing that this council is continuing the morally bankrupt policies of the last council. Councilors and investors who exploit limited resources for the benefit of the few cheat the community and undermine democracy.
Thank you. Next guest, please.
Good evening. I'm now here for two purposes, maybe even a third, but I'll do this quickly. I would urge members of the council.
Please, would you let us know who you
Bill
are, sir?
Harrison.
Thank you.
The Board of Adjustment adopted its annual report. It contained a number of recommendations, some of which are relevant to what Ms. Avery just discussed, and I would urge you to consider those and implement them as quickly as possible. There are a few unrelated ones that the prior council didn't do anything about, which would be nice to do, but I think dealing with a couple of neighborhoods, including the one around Mission, New, et cetera, I think it's important for the council to take some concrete actions to maintain that neighborhood. Second reason I'm here is Woodman Field. I became a lawyer a very long time ago because I believe in the rule of law. The Board of Education is violating the municipal land use law and the Township Council is ignoring it. Township entered into a settlement with the Board of Education. Pursuant to that settlement, the Township issued an approval. The neighbors on Champlain and Essex filed an appeal, as they are entitled to do under the municipal land use law. They were not parties to the litigation. The settlement was entered before their motion to intervene was scheduled to be heard. Municipal land use provides 40:55D-75, an appeal to the Board of Adjustment shall stay all proceedings. The minute that appeal was filed on April 1st, construction should have stopped. We heard the appeal. The Board of Education participated through an attorney. Board of Adjustment overruled the approval by the Township of the field and provided that before any improvements proceed, that the Board of Education must attain site plan approval, conditional use approval, and variance approval. They did not do that. Construction proceeded. That is a violation of the municipal land use law. Our decision is binding. They did not appeal that decision, as they had a right to do. The township could have appealed that decision if we felt that was contrary. There have been court cases letting townships appeal. Board did not appeal. There is no legal basis for that work going on. The neighbors' rights have been violated. At some point, they're going to realize that, and you're going to face a lawsuit for them, for which you will have no defense because the municipal land use law is very clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next guest, please. Okay, seeing none other, we're going to move on.
Hold on, Mayor.
Oh,
Number 5.
okay.
Number 5? Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry I missed the beginning. Mr. LaPola suspended.
Excuse me, please state your name.
Sorry, Chrissy Thomas, Montclair, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. LaPola suspended the township's affirmative action officer, Bruce Morgan, and earlier today, resident Frank Rubaki was helpful to post a link to an Oprah request indicating that Mr. LaPola designated HR Director Alicia Dawkins as acting AAO. These two functions aren't compatible, and I think that it's really odd that Mr. LaPola doesn't know that Mr. Burr didn't advise him so, or that they knew it and they did it anyway. One of the functions of the AAO position is to allow a truly independent EEOC employee complaint investigation process, which is independent from HR. This was the sole mechanism which allowed employees to lodge a complaint against the town manager or HR if it was needed. Now this process no longer exists. And it's my recollection that Mr. LaPola himself said that this was a deficiency in the current employee handbook and that it was going to be rectified. And I'm wondering whether it has been. I don't know whether it has or not. Bruce Morgan also wears another hat, and that's of an ADA coordinator, Americans with Disabilities Act. This position was created in 2018 as part of a settlement of a lawsuit called Dial versus Montclair, wherein a quadriplegic resident, Edwin Coppelson, successfully sued the township over ADA noncompliance. The settlement required that the employee who holds the position of ADA coordinator must have a valid national certification for ADA coordinators. I would like to inform Mr. LaPola, I'd like you to inform the residents who has been appointed as acting ADA coordinator while Mr. Morgan is suspended. I hope Mr. LaPola will use the balance of the time to answer.
Thank you very much. Next guest, please. I'm sorry, Manager, did you wish to? Okay. Next guest, please.
Good evening. My name is Rubina Spence.
Good evening.
I am the chairperson and co-founder at Montclair, and I wanted to share an event that's coming up. I'm also a civil rights commissioner representing the LGBTQ community sector. There is an event, the Transgender Day is going to be, let me make sure I have this back up, on November the 20th of this month. And I just wanted to, and I just lost everything there. That's what happens when you use phones sometimes. But I wanted to say it's going to be the 20th. It's actually being advertised on Facebook. It's being done by the Clergy Association of Montclair. And we have a number of sponsors that are supporting this, including Out Montclair, the Civil Rights Commission. There's a few others that I don't have because I just lost all my information, but just wanted to make sure that people knew that it's going to be at 7 p.m. on the 20th, and it's going to be held at, does anybody know what that information is? The Quaker House.
Quaker
Thank
Meeting
you.
House.
Thank you. So you know that. That's great. Thank you so much, because I just like, and I just want to make sure people knew about that. And that's something that's going to be, always takes place. It was done last year also, and we're going to continue that tradition and just to respect and have a vigil for those people who lost their lives because they were different and wanted to live their lives the way they wanted to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next guest, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Dave Herron. How's everyone today? I wasn't really going to speak until I heard something that piqued my curiosity. Our HR person is taking over as the affirmative action person and being paid to do that extra task. Is this council aware of that? How is that being paid? Is that being paid out of your personal budget for the town manager, Mr. LaPola? You'll answer that.
Mr. Morgan was paid additional, it was the Section 8 officer and was paid additional to be the affirmative action officer, and the HR director was receiving the same stipend that he had received.
My question to the council, and I know you guys don't really answer the community, do you not see a conflict? It is true, and please don't do that when someone's speaking. That's very rude, extremely rude. My point is, if you have a conflict or the potential for a conflict, no one's going to go to the person, HR, and the affirmative action if it's the same person. This council needs to look at that and decide. I don't know what's happening in this town, Mr. LaPola. This confuses me. I don't know where you think we are, but we don't do things like that here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next guest, please.
Mayor,
Mr.
there's
Fan?
no one. There's no one. No.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none others, I would like, no?
I just said, wow.
Oh, okay. So we're going to move on to new, yes?
No, I think we had agreed that after everybody speaks, we can each say a few words if we would like.
No, we're not going to say a few words until
Mayor,
the
we had agreed
end.
that we would do that.
We're going to move
We
on.
agreed that we would do that. And I would just say, I would like,
Ordinance, and
I would
we've
like-
not
I-
agreed on that. We haven't even discussed yet what we're going to do in terms of the agenda.
I would just like a legal opinion on the two things that were raised. Mr. Harrison, the head of the Board of Adjustment, raised a very important substantive issue. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if it's
New business
true,
ordinance
but
we're going to move on to is Ordinance A, which is 0-24-33. Ordinance to amend a Section 295 Stormwater Control of the Code of the Township of Montclair, New Jersey. Is there any discussion on this ordinance?
So I have a motion to pass the ordinance, or? And I guess we have some discussion?
Discussion?
Yeah. I think that I had talked to the town manager, and I think we decided that, or we recommend that this ordinance go to the Finance Committee to look at one of the points that I raised, which was that we have a very low, well, it seems to me, the square footage, 250 square feet, is the trigger for having a stormwater review. And that's really, when you look at it, it's a very small, it could be a small patio, it could be updates to your driveway. So other towns have different higher square footage. And so I thought that we might look at that, and that might be something the Finance Committee should look at, as well as the fees that we are charging for this review by the engineering group. You catch me a little off guard, so I don't have all my points ready. But, so I think that we may want to make some changes to this. I don't know if Ms. Talley wants to comment on this, because she was, well, you don't have to. I'm just saying, I think that we may not want to vote on or move this forward yet until we make some more changes. Is that fair enough for everybody?
Mayor?
Yes,
Can I just clarify?
Deputy Mayor?
So, just so I'm clear, Councilor Lockman,
Yeah.
because the 250 square feet looks like it's that's a requirement of the stormwater, the township stormwater control ordinance?
Yes.
So are you
Yes.
proposing that we look at potentially amending that
Yes,
ordinance?
making that a greater square footage, so that every small little application to do some work in your, say, put a new patio in, doesn't trigger a stormwater review by a full-blown stormwater engineering review. So that would be the first thing. And I think the other thing is we wanted to look at the fees, whether we thought that the fees were appropriate. Is that correct? Sorry.
If I may, Mayor,
Yes, Manager?
we did not review this to any committee.
Right.
So we thought that, we were just abiding by the current stormwater regulations, which is the 250 square feet, and decided that we thought 1,500 was a fair number, but we did not go through any formal process with the mayor and council before proposing this. So
Right.
whatever
Yeah, I
the governing
had,
body's preferences, it's not that it's,
But, Counselor Toller?
Thank you. Councilor Lockman, you said that you mentioned something about every application would not have to go through.
what I'm saying is that if you increase the square footage from a minor site plan application is 250 square feet, and that could be, that's I think about 16 by 16 or so. That could be the size of a patio. And do you really want to go through a full-blown engineering report when you're putting in a patio. Or if my neighbor next door has a driveway that he wants to do some work on, make it, I guess, impervious coverage, and he would have to go and do a full-blown engineering report on that. And I'm just wondering if that's really what we want to do. Do we want to, because the problem is that you have our engineering staff is spending a lot of time doing all these reviews. What do we say? It's like does 100 of these reviews a year. And, that seems like it's not a good use of their time for these small things. Verona, for example, it's a 400 square foot requirement that triggers a review. Other towns in New Jersey, it could be 500 to 1,000 square feet. So it just seems like for some reason, I think I understood from Ms. Talley that we are the lowest square footage around.
We have a lot of water, so,
Yeah, I get it.
And this, we may want to think about that. Just, I don't
Just throwing
think.
it out there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the other point was, and I'm sorry, I didn't state that right, but is to go through one of our committees to look at this rather than just doing this now. I don't know,
Do we
I don't know
which
what the right
committee-
committee is.
Which committee?
Well, I don't
is
know.
to be determined, okay.
Yeah, to be determined. But
Thank you.
Counselor Birmingham? Counselor Williams?
So, just as a practical use, I just want to know how this works. Let's say, for example, I have, most of my backyard is some material, some impervious material, and now I want to do something else, and it's less than, it's 250 square feet. So if we expand that, then I could theoretically, if, have an impervious surface more than the 250 square feet.
Right.
So wouldn't keeping it low really just have an engineer look at what's going on at the place and not just at that particular transaction, for lack of a better word?
yeah, I think I should ask Janice to come up and help me with this, but I do think it's the aggregate amount of, so if you have like 500 square feet and you're adding 250 to it, that would trigger the issue. Am I correct?
Planner Talley, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yes, good evening, council.
Good evening.
Just to clarify, it's a net increase. So if there's a net increase of more than 250 square feet, that's what triggers the engineering review and the stormwater control, requirement for stormwater controls.
Did I say that?
I think so.
I think I said that, yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify, that's.
Right, yeah.
That's what our ordinance says.
Right. So in his example, though,
So,
Janice?
Counselor Williams?
Sorry, I apologize.
So by net 250 square foot increase, you're saying to the existing property? That's what I'm not following.
That's to your existing property. What happens sometimes are, we've had applicants come to our office and remove impervious surfaces elsewhere on their property. If they want to increase it, say they want to have a patio, maybe they'll remove a pathway or something, so that the net increase is less than 250 square feet and doesn't trigger it. So it's basically a net change.
And that's determined by a permit?
It's determined by your plans. So when you come in for a building permit, you have a survey of your property, and the survey will show what's there right now and where the changes are proposed.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Might as well stay there.
Planner Talley, how did we arrive with the 250 square feet?
When we redid our stormwater ordinance, and I think this was 3 or 4 years ago, we used the model ordinance, and I can't remember the name of the organization in New Jersey that prepared a model ordinance, because the issue about this aspect is what's called a minor application. It's discretionary. Municipalities don't have to use what the state uses, which is generally a quarter of an acre. Quarter of an acre doesn't really apply to a town like Montclair. A quarter of an acre of increase in impervious coverage doesn't really apply to Montclair because our lots are so small and we're basically fully developed. So the model ordinance recommended identifying minor applications, and the minor application would be triggered by an increase of 250 square feet. And that was basically at our discretion.
Right. And I remember, I'm sorry. Can I jump in? No, go ahead.
Counselor Lockman?
No, I remember at the we approved this at the planning
Right.
department, the planning board. And I can remember some of our staff, some of our members there who are developers, like, said, no, this is too small. But we approved it anyway. And now I think it's kind of coming back to haunt us a little bit.
Yes, Councilor Birmingham.
So this has been in place for over 3 years now. It says like March 2021.
Yes.
So these reviews have been triggered at 250 feet. Are you thinking that it's been a waste of time to be reviewing these? Like, because we've been paying for them, so this is basically just saying that somewhat like the applicant will pay the anticipated municipal expenses. So are you saying, in your mind, has it just been like not a good idea?
I would never say it's a waste of time.
Okay. No, I mean, because this is...
Because stormwater is a big
Yes,
issue.
yes.
If you've been here long enough, you hear
Yeah,
water,
yes.
the way water flows is a big issue. So we made the trigger small.
Right.
And we basically wanted to see how it transpired, and now it's been in place for 3 years. It's required property owners to put in things like dry wells, but there are expenses associated with that. So the downside is it's been an additional cost, an additional burden in terms of time to hire an engineer to develop the plans for the stormwater on individual properties. So I think it's been very beneficial because in a town like Montclair, every little addition you make on developed properties to slow the velocity of stormwater is incrementally beneficial. But there's a cost.
Councilor Toller?
Thank you. I know that Bloomfield just implemented a flood mitigation advisory committee. Do you think that's something this council should consider to tie in with this? And wait, second
I didn't
thing,
hear what you said.
Bloomfield, they just implemented a flood mitigation advisory committee to tie into their stormwater committee. Was that something that you think this council should start looking at? Because I got a call today from some residents in the second ward, and I told them I would put them in touch with Councilor Birmingham regarding their neighbor who had to put in one of these wells and things, et cetera. But they're still getting flooding. They're spending a lot of money trying to waterproof their homes, their basements, et cetera. So I think as a council, we really need to think about how this is going to affect the residents and not so much the cost. While I understand there is some cost involved, but if residents are paying $6,500, $15,000 to, ensure that their basements don't get wet, then I would ask you, 250 feet, or should we go smaller? Because there are a lot of issues in town. We're on two rivers, so just wanted to.
And I can't tell you if it's 250 feet is the magic number or 200 feet. That's at your discretion. It's the trigger. It's just there has to be some trigger that's rational, and we used the 250 because that was what was in the model ordinance, and quite frankly, I think that's the lowest trigger I've seen in any municipality in the state. So I think we have the framework for a good system, and we're making incremental changes. I know we're looking into perhaps doing a stormwater utility and doing a regional stormwater plan, which I think in a town like Montclair, which is so fully developed and we have an incomplete stormwater system, it would be very helpful. I'm just not, what we're trying to figure out is how do we get there?
Yeah, I get it. I just wanted to make sure, we as a council, when we're thinking about things, that we're kind of putting the residents first and making these decisions and not really looking at the cost.
Right.
Per se. Because residents are suffering with these floods and things that we're having here and water running everywhere. So just wanted to put that out there.
You might want to say, in addition, we have a new ordinance that I think was put in place last year or the year before, where if somebody regrades their property and water flows onto their neighbor's property, that neighbor can have the township no longer allows that. So that can trigger a review as well. So we have quite a few safeguards in place.
Good. So Councilor Birmingham, I'll be sending you that email.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson signaled to me first, and then, I'm sorry, then we're going to have Councilman D'Amato.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that so far, I'm not being convinced that we need to go back and amend the stormwater ordinance, just based on what I'm hearing. It sounds like 250 square feet is appropriate, just for our town. I think if we're going to review anything, I think it would be the fee. I'm not really sure how the $1,500 was gotten to, so that's something that I would like to have looked at, if it should be higher, maybe. And then also, what's the long-term solution? I think we need to have these checks and balances in place, but it seems like kind of a short-term solution for what's going to continue to be a priority for our town, so.
Councilor D'Amato?
I think we need to be mindful of one other thing here, which is, I do have a question. When when that review is triggered at 250 feet or whatever it's going to be, who is doing that review?
The township engineer.
The township engineer. Oh, exclusively. And a homeowner cannot have their own review done, correct? By their own firm.
Well, they have their own engineer come up with the plan.
Right.
And then the township engineer reviews it.
Township engineer reviews it. I mean, that's fine. That's, I suppose, the way but we do need to be mindful of the fact that you can have washback effects in our world here, especially in New Jersey, where you have engineers that are contracted firms that, in our case, I like the firm that we're dealing with, but they are a political contributor at times, and this is money for them. And residents are squeezed. When you do a little addition on your house in Montclair, New Jersey, if you go to another town or go to another state and tell them what it costs per square foot, they think you're joking. They think you're joking. So we are extreme, and it's hard sometimes when we're all here sitting alone in our bubble to know how unusual we are in what we require permits for, what those cost, sometimes how long those take. And so demanding a review, I think we do need to be mindful that people just go, we spend a lot of time wondering, why is housing so expensive? And this is one of these things that I'm not saying I've seen the flood, I've had water in my basement, but specifically on this issue of we have a firm, it's a private firm that will get a little ding every time this is triggered. That firm has given money back to this council in political donations. So we need to be extremely careful about how we craft this and whether or not we're excessive. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilor Lockman, and then Manager.
Oh, go ahead.
Manager?
I just want to say this ordinance generated from from DCS and the township engineer, and not from the planning department. This emanated from a discussion we had about the increased costs for the consulting engineer and the number of reviews that they do. So we went back to say, okay, how can we offset this extra $80,000 or $100,000? The reviews have to be done no matter what engineering firm it is, pursuant to the ordinance. So it has to be reviewed. So we came up, we thought, based on the average of what those reviews cost, would be a $1,500 a number would be a fair number. That's up to the, that's how that we didn't have a fee to begin with. It was just to try to offset this additional cost, which was caused by the stormwater regulation. But if the mayor and council chooses not to charge anything or wants to have a lesser amount, that's a policy issue. It's not an engineering issue. That's totally, I know the issue about 250 feet versus 400 or 500 is a separate issue. That's not what's here today. This is just about trying to offset the cost associated with this particular addition, this particular ordinance. Okay, so that's how this came about. It was not part to address or to say raise the amount or whatever. It's just, this is what we're doing. This is how it is. You can maybe raise it from 250 to 400 and cut the number in half. I don't know the averages of applications, but so that's how this came about, not by way of Ms. Talley.
Counselor Lockman and then Counselor Birmingham.
Yeah, I think I kind of drove the conversation in the wrong direction. You're absolutely right. This came up because we were wondering how could we generate more revenue to offset the costs of our engineers.
Right.
So that was the initial thing. And with respect to that, I have a question for you. So why is the fee the same for a minor application and a major application? I believe it's $1,500, whether it's minor or major. One would think that you'd have, the fee would be higher for a major development.
I can't answer that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't evaluate the fee structure.
Yeah.
But we
So,
can look at that.
Yeah, that
That's-
might be something, because, it's a big difference doing for,
I agree.
right. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Birmingham?
No, I was just going to ask that question around, this is escrow, so if it takes shorter than $1,500 worth of engineering review, it should go back to the applicant. And the other thing I would ask is, do we want to consider a hardship exemption be put in here?
Yep.
In other words,
I would,
the review would still be done,
100%,
but we
yes.
might, that's just a thought. So again, we can take this back.
Well, who's,
Counselor Lockman?
like, how would you determine the hardship? Who would determine it? Would you build it in to the rules? That's it could be very subjective. So
I mean, we do have, go ahead.
No, what
Counselor Williams?
I was going to suggest here is, I think people are bringing up a lot of good points, and I think that we should probably table this so that we can send it to the appropriate committee, and then maybe this comes back a little bit more improved and flushed out.
Agreed. Anyone else have anything that they just have to say at this moment?
I do. That was
Counselor Lockman?
That was Mr. Lapola's suggestion as well when I spoke with him today, to send it to the committee.
Yeah. Anyone else? No? Okay.
So is that a withdrawal or a motion?
So did someone move this or not?
I'm sorry, Mayor, yes, there is a motion on the floor.
And it was second.
Yes, ma'am.
So
You want to withdraw
at
your
this point-
motion?
Okay.
Did I make the motion? I withdraw my motion.
Understood. Mayor, is this item being tabled to a certain date?
Yes. Do we have a date that we'd like to table this to, or to, a date to be determined? Can we do that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
And sorry, but
Yes, Counselor
which
Lockman?
committee are we sending it to?
We don't even know yet. We'll figure that out at a later
Okay.
date also. Okay. Who would like to do the new business ordinance B? Counselor Birmingham or Counselor D'Amato? Anyone on that side? Counselor Birmingham?
Ordinance O-24-34, ordinance to amend Section 327, Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the Township of Montclair, New Jersey. This is a loading, 32722 loading zones. The following described locations are hereby designated as loading zones. South Willow Street West, from a point 60 feet south from Bloomfield Avenue to a point 55 feet south therefrom. And I so move.
Second? Discussion?
No, ma'am.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
I'm glad that this is getting taken care of, because this intersection has been a problem for a long period of time. Now people have an actual place to stop and pick people up in front of 2 Willow and
Right.
Cornbread and everything like that. So one thing that I wasn't clear on this, and I'm fine, I'm going to vote for this. I know they're eliminating the left turning lane, but they're not eliminating left-hand turns. I just want to make,
Right, yes, they're not eliminating left-hand turn, it's just the dedicated left-hand turn section of the road, correct?
perfect.
And I did ask the township engineer when I read this, why the ordinance just talks about the loading zone part of it, but not the other. It's because, however the law applies, we have to do this by ordinance, but the eliminating the other part does not require an action of the council.
And loading for right here, it's going to be a timed loading, 15 minutes or something like that?
I don't know the answer to that, I'll get you the answer.
Because that's important also.
Can
Counselor Lockman?
And I just had one more question. Is the traffic light there, does that have a left-hand turn signal on it?
My understanding is that the county has agreed to do whatever changes have
Oh,
to be done
okay. Thank you.
to the light.
Any further discussion? Seeing none? We don't have to do a roll call on this, do we? We do. Please.
Deputy Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Birmingham?
Yes.
Counselor D'Amato?
Yes.
Counselor Lockman?
Yes.
Counselor Toller?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Baskerville?
Yes.
Thank you.
Counselor Lockman?
Okay, so I move ordinance number 0-24-35, an ordinance to amend Chapter 202 Land Use Procedures and to amend Chapter 347 Zoning of the Code of the Township of Montclair, New Jersey, to regulate small cell wireless facilities within the Township Right of Way.
Any second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Counselor Toller?
Yes, thank you. I'm just trying to understand this new ordinance number. I think I emailed you asking that question because I know in April 2024, there was a different ordinance number. Then it was replaced by another ordinance number, and this is a brand-new ordinance number. And I don't know if you, Counselor Lockman, are the person to answer the question about the changes here and how we got here, or if this is something Ms. Talley would have to answer.
I maybe the town clerk.
Counselor Lockman?
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the clerk, yeah, sure.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Toller, this ordinance was assigned a new number because it's being presented to a new governing body.
Okay, that's fair. I have another question.
Yes, Counselor Toller?
Within the small cell wireless facilities, I guess this is on page 3, under definitions where it says administrative review, my question is, will this need a legal review as well? There's no one here to answer?
Attorney Burr?
Under the ordinance, no. No, it doesn't require a legal review. It's a planning document.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, I got a lot on this.
Yes,
I'm
Counselor
sorry.
Toller, please feel free to go right ahead.
Thank you. Unless someone else has a question. If they don't, okay, great. Page 8, item B, where it says where permitted, the redevelopment areas that it's referring to, do we know exactly those streets or locations that this is supposed to?
May I?
Certainly. Counselor Lockman?
I think under B, where permitted, it's done by zone, it's not by
Yeah.
street.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm just saying, do we have a general idea of which streets these are in
No.
those zones?
So
It's
what
just-
happens is the telecom company is an applicant. They submit a network plan, which they have to document their need for these small cell facilities, and they determine where there might be calls that are dropped or where they don't have service, and they develop a plan, and that network plan, we have no idea yet what that will be until an applicant comes in and says, I'm not getting service on Walnut Street, so I need to put up an antenna or a tower, whatever they need to put up. So they develop a plan, and they put that before the reviewing body.
My other question, under item 3, same page, where it says 200 feet, is that the minimum, or could we have gone further, like 500 feet or 1,000 feet? It's still on page 8 at number 3, notice of any required public hearing, blah, blah, blah.
To the nearest block and lot.
And who would answer these questions? I know you can't. You're not the person with this.
I can answer some
Okay,
of
you
them.
can.
Like Janice Talley was here. I don't know where she
Oh,
went.
okay.
Oh, there she is, yeah.
I didn't wanna keep,
Mr.
you know.
How about,
Mr. Harrison, who also works a
Chairman
lot.
Harrison?
This is a very straightforward answer. The 200 feet is established by the municipal land use law, so we cannot deviate from that 200 feet requirement because that has to do with public notice.
So if we wanted to do that, I mean, are there other municipalities that were able to go further than 200
No.
feet? None whatsoever?
No.
Okay. I guess page 9, item G. I'm just trying to understand if you can specify what the owner approval, was there any compensation or anything that's going to be given if these small cell wireless facilities, they're going to be on private property only when the use is non-residential? I just need a little bit more clarification on that. Like,
Well, if an applicant came in and they couldn't find a pole in the public right-of-way, that would work, and they had to go for a pole that was on private property, this says it can only be permitted if that private property is where the use is non-residential. So it wouldn't be a residential use.
May I just add?
Councilor Lockman?
So, I was thinking about this too, and if you think about on Claremont Avenue, for example, it's kind of a residential area, but there's a auto, not a dealership, auto dealership. I mean, potentially, they could ask to put a pole there. That's private
maybe
properties,
township
but it's not
property.
residential. Yeah,
could
or
be
maybe
public
town-
property.
yeah. Or BOE, right.
The idea was to protect the residential areas.
Yes.
okay.
And they will be compensating the property people as they have done in the past, correct?
They would have to.
Yes, no, I think that was the
Yes,
second part
yes,
of
it
Councilor
was. There was
Toller's question,
compensation,
yes.
Right. Thank you. And, well, I guess you can stand in, Ms. Talley. I'm sorry. I just have a few more. Page 11, I guess item F. Who's going to do the assessment of the poles? New facilities, would that be something that needs to be accompanied with the, I guess, maybe rationale to the township as to how or why, or?
They have to come up with a network plan, and generally when they come up with, I haven't seen a network plan for a small cell facility, but if you look at when they do a network plan for the larger ones, they have a plan that shows the overlap, and what this says is you want to minimize the overlap. You don't want to put them every 50 feet, because if you don't need it, we don't want it. You have to space it so that it meets your minimum requirements.
When you say you're meaning the resident?
I meant the applicant.
Oh, the applicant,
Whoever's putting together the network.
And we don't know who that is, right?
No.
Page 13, item C. I guess towards the bottom of the paragraph where it says any adverse visual impacts, I'm just trying to see if residents, if this will affect them, and they'll be compensated as well.
Which paragraph?
I'm sorry, page 13, item C.
C, visual impact analysis? Well, there's no compensation in this. What this does is it usually empowers the reviewing board to require techniques to minimize the visual impact. Quite often it's painting the facility or minimizing the size of the antenna so that it is as small as possible, or it's painted to match the color of the pole. There's a lot of different techniques you can use.
Okay. Number 14, page 14, item F, where it says drive test data and maps. I just have a big red question mark next to it because I just need a little more clarification on, what that really entails, if you know.
I can't tell you exactly what it entails. This, again, was something that was recommended to us by Mr. Campanelli, based on his experience in other municipalities, as something that we should be reviewing to make sure that the information that they provide is, in terms of coverage and need, is actually based on data. So they're going to be submitting the drive test data and the maps to show their coverage capacity and their needs.
I'll come back to that one if I have to, unless somebody else has something, I'll keep going.
We have Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson.
Okay.
Hi. So I actually, I found this draft to be very good. And I also, I feel very strongly that we need to provide these guidelines. I think it's important to make sure that residents in our town, throughout our town, have the wireless services that they need. I mean, in this age of technology, and for me, it's an equity thing. So So I do think that it's important to pass this. I have just a couple of questions on page 9, bulk requirements. I think you might have already answered this question. One of my questions was what was the basis of the requirements as laid out in this section? Did you say it was a consultant?
It was, part of it was from Mr. Campanelli's proposal. We also, again, looked at model ordinances.
Got it.
This is new, these are new requirements.
Okay.
So we did get model ordinances from across the country and used those in our initial draft, which was probably a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So,
So a specific question I had under section C on page 9 is the requirement that it has to be at least 50 feet away from a residential dwelling. So maybe I'm just sort of, I don't know how plausible this is, but what happens if a company says that the only place that they can put something is within 50 feet? Would they be able to apply for any kind of a variance? And if so, what body would be responsible for
well, in this
reviewing that?
case, if it's a conditional use, and this is one of the conditions, then it would be before the Board of Adjustment. I'd have to double check I have a different version. So they would be entitled to apply for a variance. And it depends upon that particular application, whether it's before the Board of Adjustment or the Planning Board. But there is a process. And essentially what that process will do is it'll require them to justify why there's nothing else available and why they would need that variance.
Okay, but there is a process, so
Yes.
great. And then on page 11, I just wanted to note, because this is something that was brought up to me by a resident, that it says, unless approved by a board, whenever any existing electric utilities or communications facilities are located underground within a public right of way, that the provider is supposed to locate its communications facilities except for an antenna or support structure underground, and it's at his own expense. So I think that's great. So
Hopefully we can enforce it.
I hope so too.
That's what we'd like to see.
Councilor Birmingham and then Councilor D'Amato.
Thank you to all for the work that went in here. I know that some other towns have already done this, and I do think it's really important because essentially we've been told, the federal government has told us, you've got to let this happen. So where we can have control, I think it's important. My question, and I will say, I was reviewing some other towns, and in some ways we're more conservative, like around our pole height, I think, where we say 35 feet or 110% of the height, whichever is less, and I've seen others where it says whichever is more, so I think we're a little bit more conservative. But on page 17, around in clause B, and I know we emailed about this, the term of the right-of-way use agreement with the township shall not exceed 25 years. And I've seen in the 3 other ordinances I've looked at, it's been 15 years. And so I'm just curious, do you think there's a reason why 15, or do you think there'd be any unintended consequences to make it a little bit shorter?
This topic has not come up, and I think the 25 years must have come from one of the ordinances that we worked from, the model ordinances. There's really no requirement. 15 years might make better sense because it gives the township an opportunity to renegotiate the user agreements.
Okay, so we could change it, because I saw that in 3 other towns, so I feel like maybe we could do that if we want to just make it 15.
Councilor D'Amato?
Yes, thank you. My only question is, and I look at some others as well, and unless I'm mistaken, they did not have this collection and analysis of the data. Is 14 and 15 F to G, that whole area of regulation, is the point of that to just minimize the dBm that is used by the operators? In other words, why do we care about drop calls? Why do we care about their interest in coverage efficiency? Is it just because Councilor Chin Anderson was saying that we have an interest in maybe in ensuring that we have got good cell coverage in certain places, which I can see, but I don't think that that's what this regulation is. It's the opposite. It's to make sure that there's not excessive DBM. Is that correct?
Right, we want to make sure, that it's a capacity issue. That's why they put in the 5G, to improve the capacity. I think why we have the drive-by data, again, that was from the ordinance that we got from Mr. Campanelli that's been used elsewhere in the country.
Okay.
And I think the consensus when we reviewed it, it's good to have the data so that when testimony is given before the board, it's not a net opinion. We may have some pretty maps, but if you don't get the data behind the pretty maps that they present, then how do you know their accuracy? So it's really an additional level of backup. And we'll have RF engineers.
But the
who
basic,
review.
but what's the point of regulating that area of their activity? What's the point? Like, what does it do? Why do we get into?
Because we want to minimize the number of polls that are necessary.
Okay.
You know, they may have, I've heard that there are some areas where there's an excessive number of these antennas on every other pole.
I understand. That answers my question, by the way. Thank you.
Okay.
I just couldn't really tell what it was about.
To piggyback, may I?
Yes,
To
Councilor
piggyback-
Toller.
Thank you. To piggyback off of what Councilor D'Amato was saying, item G, still on page 15, would they be supplying, new facilities would have, should they have a rationale to supply to the township after that for item G? Because it's, it says a sworn statement of the accuracy of such data shall be included. Does that mean assessment of the polls, new facilities? Will they be letting us know the rationale, what's going on?
Well, that would be part of the testimony that they give at the meeting. That's really, the drive test data and maps that they're going to present. In addition to that, it will be supplemented by this information on dropped call. It's more data
Okay.
to
And then
support their request.
just my last question, do we know which areas of town these will be? I know it's supposed to go all over, but are there going to be some in more wards than other wards?
We don't know.
When will we know that?
When the carrier comes in with a network plan.
Okay, and do we know when that would be? I guess after we get this done and it goes through there?
It could be any time. So I think it's better to protect the township to have an ordinance in place with these requirements. Otherwise, if we don't, I think you've probably heard, if we don't have an ordinance in place, then we can't prohibit it.
So then this, like I said, it goes back to these zonings. That's why I was asking if we could kind of get a breakdown on the areas, the streets, but thank you.
Thanks, Janice.
Any further discussion? Councilor Birmingham?
No.
I
Councilor
was just going to
Lockwood?
make a motion to amend this.
Second?
On page 17, Clause B, in Clause 3B, the term of the right-of-way use agreement with the township shall not exceed 15 years
Second?
instead of 25.
Second.
Councilor Lockman?
I just want to thank Mr. Harrison and Janice and Suzanne for the hard work that we did on this. We spent a lot of time working on this, and I think we have a good ordinance in place. So thank you. Oh, sorry, and Mr. Burke. Thank you, too. And Mr. Campanelli, but I don't think he's here. Okay, yeah, but thank you all.
Thank you all. Okay, no further discussion? Okay, roll call on we're going to vote on the amended ordinance with the 15 years.
Deputy Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Councilor Birmingham,
Yes.
Councilor D'Amato,
Yes.
Councilor Lockman,
Yes.
Councilor Toller,
No.
Councilor Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Baskerville.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson?
Okay, the next ordinance is Ordinance O-24-25. This is an ordinance approving a grant of easement to Ram 51 New LLC to traverse over and maintain a certain portion of township property located at 53 New Street, Montclair, New Jersey. And I so move.
Second.
Discussion?
So I guess I'll start. So.
Shin
this-
Anderson?
Oh, sorry.
No
My
worries.
apologies. So this is the ordinance that originally was brought to discussion at a July meeting. It is an ordinance to grant an easement, to enter into an easement agreement that was required as a condition of a variance that was granted to the property owner, I believe about 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Burr?
Yes, correct. I believe so. I can't, it's in here.
Okay,
May 18th, 2022.
right.
There was a resolution by the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. And then I just recall that when it was first brought, the stated consideration was $1. And Counselor Toller and a couple of other of us thought that perhaps we might want to go back and see if we could negotiate a higher amount. The amount that is stated here, $9,845, which would be paid into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, is based on the assessed value of the land.
That's correct, and I believe Mr. Harrison made that suggestion to several of the council members, so we followed his
Correct.
direction on that.
That means that's the fair market value, the number that we
Yeah,
have here.
of the-
Okay.
Yeah, the
correct.
land assessment for taxes, and we took the square foot price and multiplied that by the square footage of the easement, and that's how we came up with $9,850, I believe it, $9,845.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Counselor Toller?
Thank you. Just want to clarify that there's a typo on this agreement on the second page here, item A, grantor for in consideration of $5,000, and then in parentheses, it says $9,845. That needs to be corrected.
Good catch.
Additionally, I'm still not comfortable with this easement, but I'm pretty sure that I'm outvoted here this evening. As Ms. Avery spoke, the things that are happening in the fourth ward, I'm really asking my colleagues to let's have a discussion about some of the things that are taking place with home ownerships, homes, renters, tenants, et cetera, and have a look at what we're doing and voting on. And let's look at people first instead of what we think the best thing is for a dollar. I just wanted to really share that tonight. So if we can just get the typo fixed, thank you, Mr. Harrison, for pointing that out. I appreciate that. And Mr. Burr, you said that this was something that was presented, I guess, back in May 18, 2022, and that was under your recommendation. Is that correct? For the first easement request?
The easement request was, sorry, I've got to turn on my mic. Easement request was made to the township prior to my becoming township attorney, to Mr. Karasek. They were before the zoning board at that time. After I was hired, the zoning board issued their variance when the issue was brought to me, and it was at the recommendation of the prior council through the Economic Development Committee. They made the recommendation. They were given the facts of the situation, and they made the recommendation.
Thank you.
Counselor Williams?
Just, my question kind of has something to do with this, but not exactly. I think this is a multifamily house, if I'm not mistaken. It's a single-family house.
I believe it's a single family.
Single
Okay,
family.
great. That was my question. Thank you.
Can
Counselor Birmingham, and then Deputy Mayor.
So I'm just trying to figure out, because I heard Mr. Harrison, I I feel like we should take whatever action we should be taking in the area, to Councilor Toller's point. But I'm just trying to figure this out here, because this property had a prescriptive easement for a long time, right? This has been like 100 years, has it?
That, when the house was built, it was built 3 inches over the
Okay, right.
boundary line.
3 inches over into township property. The town did not argue, like, the town just let it go
It wasn't township property. when
at the time.
At the
Okay,
time.
at the
Township
time.
purchased
Okay,
this property.
thank
after
you,
the fact.
thank you. So it's been there for years. My understanding is you can sell property with a prescriptive easement. So like the person, you can sell that house without getting this from the town, right? Like you
Correct.
right? Like you could sell your house, they could sell that house, and that house will still be 3 inches over whether we grant this easement or not, right? Like-
That's correct, except that it could cause cloud on title. So even though we're saying it's a prescriptive easement, the buyer, title company, may not insure it because they don't have either an easement, consent of the property owner acknowledging that easement exists, or a court order where you would go to bring a action to quiet title. And that would be then deemed a prescriptive easement by the court.
Okay, so they could take us to court and say,
Yes.
like, this property has been like this for 100 years, and, okay, because I'm just trying to figure out what the options are. I don't see, I think,
May I?
Well,
I don't mean to cut you
can-
off. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to explain a little bit more about how this came about. So the owner purchased the property, they wanted to put on an addition, they go to the Board of Adjustment for a variance. During their application, it's my understanding that the board, the commissioners felt it was a good idea, their attorney advised them that they should come to the town and work out a deal, and it would be beneficial for the town, and it would be beneficial for the homeowner. What's the benefit for the town? So if you read the ordinance or the easement, you will see that the owner is providing, the town with liability insurance. They are taking the responsibility for the area, for maintenance and upkeep of the area. They have removed an old fence that was potentially dangerous and hazardous. They're not allowed to put a new fence up, and they're not allowed to put impervious ground back. So the town is gaining a benefit there. If anyone gets injured on that easement, the property owner covers it. For the property owner, it allowed them to maintain that without having to tear down the house. Not that I don't believe, my opinion is that they probably would have been successful on a action to quiet title or to deem that a prescriptive easement. However, they didn't have to do that, and they were able to get the variance to build the addition, which is on the opposite side of the property. Two other conditions: they cannot expand the house in beyond the easement, so they're limited to where that is located at this point in time. And if the property is demolished or partially destroyed where it has to come down, they have to remove it and the easement goes away. So that, and then they would, if they wanted to rebuild, they'd have to rebuild on the opposite, off the town's property. It also enables the town, in the event the town is going to build property, affordable housing there, they can still use the entire lot, and they're not diminished by the lot size. So if we had sold off that property, then you would have diminished the size of the lot. So it was a benefit, and we believed it was a win-win, and that's what the EDC, as we were working through it, kind of felt. So that's how we got to that.
Councilor Williams, they describe this as a two-family house under the easement. You ask a question, they describe it as two-family. Yeah, okay. Deputy Mayor, did you have something?
The only thing
No.
that I wanted to add was that I think we're We're talking about approximately a 232 square foot easement. That's my understanding of what the actual size of the easement is.
Correct. It's 3 feet wide by 150 feet long, give or take. So
Counselor Lockman?
So please, just confirm, so if the house is sold, the easement goes with the deed, correct?
easement runs with the land.
Okay.
So the new property owner would be bound by the terms of the
Yeah,
easement.
okay. On page, there's no page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th page, I think there's also a typo, if you want. It's the 3rd line down. Additional coverage in the event it is determined that the above coverage is insufficient. I believe it should say to any and all liability.
Can you say where's that part?
I think it's the 5th
Top of
page,
page
under,
6, right?
under 4 insurance. But the top of the page, the 3rd line down, it should, I believe it should read that the above coverage is insufficient to any and all liability or claims.
Okay.
And I have a question for you. There's a requirement that they have insurance coverage that would include, insuring the town as well. And yet, we don't require a certificate of insurance as evidence of the coverage. I was wondering if you might want to put that in every year. They
We
should.
could add that
Yeah, an
language,
annual certificate of
To provide us with proof of when requested, but we can
Yeah,
add.
but I think it should probably be in here. And it should also state they waive subrogation.
Just one question. It doesn't
Councilor
really have
Toler?
much to... Yes, thank you. I'm just wondering, the drawing again, it says Washington and new. I know it doesn't have much to do with the ordinance, if you will, but is there another drawing somewhere because Washington and new?
I am not aware of another drawing. So, are you talking about the survey?
Yeah. The next cross street would be Fulton, not Washington. Or is this the way that surveys are done? I don't know.
I would have to look at the specific street maps.
Okay.
I guess I don't know.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
So just going back to what I was saying before, and not to belabor the point, so this is a two-family house, and, I visited the property with Councilor Toler, and I'm just concerned just because we're getting pinged a lot about, parking and overnight parking and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like there would be adequate parking for a multi-family. I don't know why I'm looking directly at you, but I look at everyone else, so I'm not accusing you. Yeah, there's a driveway there, but, if this is going to be a multi-family house, I
We looked in the back.
don't see.
There's a driveway, and then there's space in the back for them to park.
And
They
then
would
there's
have to
grass.
move their patio stuff.
So so looking at the property here, just because, just want to see what was going on there, just going back to the stormwater, there's like, all of the land there is covered with mostly asphalt or stuff like that. So just going through this, and I don't want to pick on this property or anything like that, it just seems like you just have to be mindful with this sort of development here. There's not really a lot of land there, and most of it is covered, right? So, and there's not a lot of parking for a multifamily house, so.
Yes, Counselor Lockman?
So I think this came up when we were talking about it in the EDC, that, we always talk about building affordable housing on that vacant lot. But maybe it would be better not to build anything on it, because exactly for the reasons that you're saying, there's a lot of, impervious coverage there. It would be, I'm just throwing that out there, beneficial to have those two lots as open, maybe a park or something. It's also a densely populated area. I know we talked about this last time, but certainly for stormwater, it might make sense, just, since you brought it up, to leave that as vacant land.
Any further discussion? No? And so now if you can please call for the vote with the amendments.
Deputy Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Birmingham,
Yes.
Counselor D'Amato,
Yes.
Counselor Lockman.
Yes.
Counselor Toler. Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Baskerville.
Yes, thank you, Counselor Toler, because I After the discussion, I feel very comfortable with voting for this.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Counselor Williams, please.
Resolution R-24-237, resolution authorizing renewal of a contract to IPS Group, Inc. for proprietary support and maintenance services to parking meters. So moved.
Second?
There was a second? Yes, okay. Discussion, please?
I don't think we talked about this last time, but I was wondering, it says what the rates are, but it doesn't say what the past rates were. So were these,
No,
was this?
it's
it
the
did?
same, yeah.
It's same, it hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. And
Okay.
we did, the memo was updated, if you recall, the last time we discussed this.
Yeah.
He didn't include the per month.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
figure out the calculation, so there's a new updated memo
Yeah.
attached to the resolution. So
But
that
this-
explains how the number was.
Yeah, and it's renewing as expiring. Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Deputy Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Birmingham,
Yes.
Counselor D'Amato,
Yes.
Counselor Lockman,
Yes.
Counselor Toller, Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Baskerville.
Yes. Next resolution, please, Counselor Toller.
Sure. Resolution R-24-2233, resolution regarding the suspension of meter collection on Saturday, November 30th, 2024, for Small Business Saturday and during the 2024 holiday shopping period. I so move.
Second, discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I was just wondering if the title could be could it reflect the actual dates that the suspension will be effective for? Like November 30th through January, I think it's January 5th?
Yes.
It's amendment?
That's correct.
Yes. Otherwise, I have no issues with this.
Counselor Williams?
Just want to ask a question. I'm generally in favor of this. The only thing that I was looking at, most of our shopping is, we don't really have a lot of shopping. It's mostly restaurants, right?
Right.
So it's not really in the spirit of what this is trying to do, really, because it's not really shopping. It's restaurants for the most part. And I'm just wondering, do we need, I think that we honor Small Business Saturday, but do we need to suspend parking for a whole month here, seeing that, our, folks are going to be coming in from other towns to basically go to restaurants here because it's not really a lot of shopping to be done. So that's just my question.
Counselor Birmingham?
And I want to just follow on what Counselor Williams is just talking about in terms of, do we know how much revenue we would expect to be losing? And I don't mean to be, I'm not just being the Grinch, but like, this is a long time. It's a long time, to November 30th to January 5th. And it's the revenue, but it's also the idea that you're not turning over parking. And I know it's 2 hours, but that's dependent on people being, that you have someone checking every 2 hours. And it also then, if someone's getting ticketed at the 2 hour point, does that turn them off in terms of, who wants to come to town and you're eating at a restaurant or shopping? So for me, I would like to see and even hear from businesses' thoughts on this, because I was just thinking about this today, and I feel like a 2-week window would be okay. But again, I don't mean it to be any kind of Grinch-like. I just would like some more information myself.
Counselor Lockman?
I guess I'm always the Grinch on the council. I had the exact same question. What is the cost to the town for having this kind of, waiving of parking? And it also brought the question to mind, what is the revenue that we get annually from parking? I was just kind of curious. You probably don't know, but it's curious. It's curious. So there is a cost to the town, a loss of revenue.
And the decks are still, you still are paying in the decks, right? Like,
Yes. No?
I don't think so. I think everything is.
no, I think you're paying in the decks, no?
If you'd like to.
Or is it just? Can we table this till the November 26th?
Yes.
Sure.
Counselor D'Amato.
I would just like to join the other Grinches and show my support. And I would say that I think we should have a $1,500 application fee for parking during that period.
So is there a motion to table?
I think
So
I'm the only
moved.
non-Grinch here.
Second.
Yeah, because it does say meter collection, so I
Right.
do think then the decks are, to my memory, I still pay. Anyway, so
Aren't
we
they
can,
privately?
we can table this until next time we just get a little more information.
Deputy Mayor?
I'm with you, Susan.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with tabling it since we have some time.
Are you, Mike, on?
Oh, I'm okay with tabling it because we have some time, but I just, the whole restaurant versus shopping thing, I think just generally, we should be supporting all small businesses, including our restaurants and food service providers. So that's my take on it.
Grinch, too.
And I just, my point is how much does this support small businesses? That's my point, is that if you're taking away meters, then are you turning over parking? That's, my point is really just like, how much does this support them compared to how much revenue we, I just have some questions. So let's table, if
Get the
it's okay.
questions answered.
Yeah, if it's
Just one more
okay.
question.
I'm sorry, I saw Counselor
Oh, sorry.
Toller and then Counselor Lockman.
Yep, thank you. I don't mind tabling it. I am in support of this because it's not just restaurants. This would apply to the entire township. Is that correct? So there's a lot of shopping that goes on in Uptown. I don't know if the last time anybody's taken a walk up and down Valley Road in Uptown, but a lot of the stores are leaving. They're empty. So when you say restaurants, I respect that, but there are places to shop in Montclair. This is a nice tradition. This is something that we, the council, can do to give back, if you will, to our residents. Yes, we're going to get a lot of visitors, but I would love to know what the dollar amount is that we would be losing if we did do this, because in all honesty, we've paid more money on the bill list for the difference, if you will, so.
Counselor Lockman.
So does this come from the bid? Are they the ones that kind of push this?
We've been doing it for years.
Just been doing it for
yeah.
years? Okay.
Just because it's been happening.
Okay. With the bid, it is? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, well, we'd like to hear from them, yeah.
Madam Clerk, we'd like to table this until our next meeting. Is that correct? We think we can get the information we need by the regular meeting?
And then it can still go by the,
Yes.
right? Because we could pass it. It can still go for the same amount of time. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Counselor D'Amato?
R-24-234, resolution amending the fair and open contract to Gannet Fleming, Inc. for municipal utility engineering services, RFP 23205. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Counselor Lockman?
I have no idea what this is. Can you please explain it? What's a wheel in
Manager LaPola?
Yeah.
It's a fee we charge to Glen Ridge because their water has to go through our system to get to them. They don't have the ability to provide the service. So we have been in disagreement with them on the fee since last year regarding last year's fee and this year's fee. However, this is to update the analysis to establish a fee moving forward. Hopefully, this will be done shortly, and it will become to you my recommendation, and I think council would agree, by way of an ordinance establishing the fee. This is, unfortunately, the draft agreement from last year talked about negotiating when this should not be negotiated. It should be, you establish a fee just like anything else. And so we are updating this. There's been changes in the economy in the past few years, inflation, et cetera, and to make it a more comprehensive view, comprehensive analysis of what this number should be. So that's why there is this this resolution on the agenda.
No?
No, only that I think it is important to establish something fair, and as we recall, the wheeling rate had not been raised in years and years and years. And so, and I think the study that was done last year was done by a company that also works for Glen Ridge. So I think it's just, this is a good way to, and I think whatever money we spend, we would be making back with the correct rate. So that's sort of my thought on this.
Thank you. Any further, Councilor Toller?
Yep, just a typo again in the heading of the resolution. The word municipal is spelled incorrectly.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Birmingham?
Yes.
Counselor D'Amato?
Yes.
Counselor Lockman?
Yes.
Counselor Toller?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Baskerville?
Yes. Councilor Birmingham?
Okay, Resolution R-24-243. Am I,
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Zencity.
I'm doing, okay. Resolution authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract to Zencity Technologies US Inc. for software license agreement of Township Manager Office's strategy planning tool for a period of 3 years. And I so move.
Second.
This discussion, did you want to tell me about, yes, Mr. Councilor Williams?
Yeah, so I'm in favor of this, and I saw, I gave you a little bit of a hard time last time because I couldn't see the vision, but I see it now, especially with the wildfires and stuff like that, and people getting emails saying that they want the town council to say something because we're being dragged online, right? So this right here will gather all that sentiment and tell us where we should be directing our energy, or give us some things that people are really in tune with. So I see the value in that.
I just have one question. So when we were in the communications committee meeting, Councilor D'Amato and Councilor Williams and myself, I thought we said for 1 year. We didn't say that about this one. It was about another one. I thought we discussed it for 1 year, I thought.
That's what we discussed at the last council meeting. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
in
thought
your
we discussed it for
communication, so
1 year and not the 3
It
years.
should be for 1 year.
I'm
As
just,
well as some of us wanted a presentation, and I know we got a
Correct.
Zoom link from
Yeah.
Mr. Fan this afternoon, but I haven't had a chance to
I mean,
look at
if
it.
people change their mind, it's fine. I'm just trying to figure out. I was surprised when I saw it in there at 3.
Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I think several of us did mention that at the last meeting too, and my recollection was that the rate goes down based on the number of years.
Okay.
I do want to know, though, if, and I think I saw an email come through either yesterday or today. Today, offering to have us look at it. I would like to look at it, but I also would like to know if Mr. Amaral, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, has seen this and what his impressions are, the Director of Communications.
Yes, he has.
Yes, Manager.
Yes.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
So you're just looking for general thoughts? So broadly, as I understand it, it's a platform for community engagement to provide. Yeah, I was just a little tall, so. So I haven't used it before, but as I understand it, it's a community engagement platform that allows for enhanced feedback from the community on any initiatives, projects that the township is working on. So, if the township has a new project, a park, or they want to change something, they'll be able to be a hub for each project that residents could go on. And on that page, we could create surveys, polls, and that way people will be able to submit what they think about the project or potential projects. And then on the back end, like from my side, if I would be using it, I'd be able to see, and you guys would be able to see all the feedback on what the community thinks in a way that we wouldn't have been able to beforehand. There's also a mechanism to basically collate all kinds of community information. So we could feed it like media sites, Montclair Local, open social media pages that are already viewable by the public, and it'll be able to tell us, oh, the community is talking about traffic safety, any other issue that comes up that, would save us a lot of time in being able to honor that.
May I?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, and then Councilor Lockman, and then Councilor Toller.
So as I do really like the project management and the engagement, just because I think it's really important to find the best ways of, enhanced ways of getting feedback. We talk about like surveying residents about their opinions about things, but and so I think potentially it could be a really great tool. The one thing that I'm concerned about a lot of these platforms is privacy and security of people's information. So I do see in the attached documentation that, that they say that there's a very high emphasis on maintaining resident privacy. Are you able to get a sense of the security of people's information if they're responding to surveys using this platform?
What I know is, what Zencity puts out there. Like, I'm not able to speak to sort of the technological capacities they have and how they're encrypting data or whatever. But in no way would, like if a resident fills out a survey, in no way would that be made, public or open for others to see. I think you can design the surveys and polls to be completely private. And as far as like collating information, it's all information that's already out there. So I know there's, private Facebook groups that residents have that wouldn't fall under Zencity's capabilities.
Deputy Mayor, I just have a question, please, for you. It's not clear to me when I read this that the price is better if you do multiple years, because it seems as though they're saying $17.5 for a year. And so do we have information about what the difference is if we go for 1 year versus if we go for 3 years?
I didn't negotiate the contract. I don't know if Tony can speak to that.
Mr. Pham? Oh, it's in here. Is it on? Oh, then maybe I'm on the wrong thing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So,
Thank you.
yes, the resolution is for 17.5 for 1 year for 3-year contract.
Okay.
We do have because the company, the account rep is not in the United States, she's based out outside the United States. So I'm still have a time difference. I'm still haven't get a price back from it. It's still 75 just for 1 year. I'm assuming that will be increased because usually you have a multi-year contract, the pricing is a little bit reduced. If you have 1 year contract, the pricing will be increased a little bit, so a certain percentage. But I'm still waiting for the account manager to get back to me.
Okay. Where are they located?
I think the company is in the United States, but the account rep is global because this Zencity is a global company. They use it for not just in the United States, they also use it from other countries.
Other countries?
Looks like they're in Delaware.
Okay.
Yeah, the company
Okay.
is, the office is in Delaware, but the software is using globally.
But do you think we can figure that out pretty quickly? Because it's important to me. If we can get it for the same price, I would rather err on doing a year and seeing, what we think before I want to lock into 3 years and find out, it's not working for us.
From my past experience, I'm pretty good negotiator, so I'm trying to negotiate with the vendor, see if we can keep the same price. and then maybe an option to renew the year 2 and year 3 annually.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Toller?
Thank you. I would like that idea as well, to, if you can negotiate for 1 year. I have 2 questions, actually. If this is approved, what department would this operate out of? Your department or?
No, it will be under communications.
Under communications.
IT will be the back-end support.
Okay, and do you know where the data is going to be collected and stored? You
They
know,
will be
how-
in the cloud.
It will be where, in the
We
cloud?
will be in the cloud within the United States soil, because since we are local government, all data has to be hosted and secure on within United States. Cannot be outside country.
And is this something the former council was considering too, or is this something
No, this is
new?
just brought, and after, sometime in June, there was discussion, but this is the first time we presented to the governing body.
Yeah, because my concern is two things, you know, the data being collected, where it's going to be stored and used, and who else will have access to it, as well as when you're saying community engagement. It's been my experience that many of the residents in the Fourth Ward aren't on these social media platforms. I don't even know if this is going to engage this area. I would really need to take a look at the link that you shared today to see if there's anything that can perhaps be tweaked. I think we spoke about this the other day, and there just aren't enough residents in the Fourth Ward on the town pages, some of the social media pages. So when you say community engagement, I want to make sure it's going to hit everyone and find a way to hit them if we need to. So, yeah, I'm in favor of a year.
Well, we can boost up the advertisement with the communication director and Matt help. We can boost up the publicity and the publication to people who doesn't have social media. Maybe we can do an email
No, I'm
blast.
saying people have it, they're just not engaged.
Engaging?
Here
Oh, okay.
on some of the town platforms,
my
if you
apologies.
will. So when we're speaking about this is going to help community engagement, probably 30% of the Fourth Ward will be engaged. The others will not, because they're not on these platforms.
Okay. So,
Deputy Mayor Sin Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that this could be very helpful, but I do think that, I think that the 1 year is appropriate, and I would like to see that, especially since I'm looking at the terms and conditions. And it says, I mean, basically either party can terminate based on a breach of a material provision, or if the other party is judged bankrupt or insolvent. So that's why I think it would be good to.
We can put that as a still option for 3 years, but 1 year and then 2 annual year optional renewal. So we can opt out after the first year, and then after second year, you still have a chance to opt out the third year. So I'm going to
That's what the
vote for that.
resolution says, Tony. That's what the resolution says.
That is what.
It's a year with two options.
2 optional years, so,
It's not, you're authorizing 1 year with the options.
yes, so,
So
sorry.
You're authorizing 3
I wrote it a month ago, so. Any other
Sounds
questions?
good. I guess up at the top where it says for a period of 3 years in the top, maybe it just, but, thank you. Yes, Councilor D'Amato?
I just want to say I'm very excited about the whole thing, but we should make sure to use it. It's like when, I wanted a pair of ice skates, and it's like my parents said, let's make sure to actually go ice skating. I don't think the biggest threat is that, it's going to steal our information. I think the biggest threat with software adoptions like this is that you don't actually end up using them and embedding them in our process. But I think that there's a very, very important key area that this will be useful for, which is in implementing complete streets. If we when we do that, because there will be a lot of very granular community engagement, and it won't just be online, or people can be helped. It's not going to just be social media scanning or something like that. It will just literally be, pages that are about specific, safety and street projects that people can weigh in on all the complexities. And so, technology can be something that is bad. It can be something that is just indifferent and a waste of time. Or if it's used correctly, it can be something that's really transformative. And I hold out hope here that this is going to fall in the latter category. And nice to see you up here, Matt. And Tony, too.
And then just let you know that all the hosting services on the cloud, my first question is asked, where is the data hosting? Is it within the United States or outside the United States? If they're outside the United States, then they're out. That is the first security question that is mandated by local
Good.
government.
Okay.
You said they're out of the country? You said if they are
If
out of the
they
If
country?
they're out of the
They're
country,
out.
we not consider.
So
I'm
how
not
will we
consider.
determine that?
They have to tell us.
LLC, you know, people can hide behind them. I know there's a new law coming out next year.
Yeah, so
for
they
LLCs.
usually, they would know we are local government. Most of the company work with, it's not a small apartment shop, they're pretty big corporations. So they all know the government, all the data has to be stored within the United States, not even Canada.
Well, if we can find that out, that'd be helpful too.
Yep,
think.
I mean, I already asked the question when I have the meeting, conference meeting with them along with Janice and Norma at the beginning, before Matt joined the manager team.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it. So I would like to, I know, Manager, that this says that we're going to do 1 year, but I would like to offer an amendment in the beginning, right up here where it says indicating to provide the goods and services for a period of 3 years, that we change it up the top to 1 year, just for easier reading for people maybe that may not get to the part that you're talking about, Manager LaPola. No, right here. Right here where it says in the beginning, whereas in city, and it says indicating that they will provide the goods and services for a period of 3 years in the amount of,
I got you. It's 1 year.
and at the top too, you're right, right? Yeah,
With two
Okay.
one-year options.
okay,
So just change that.
Yeah, we are.
all right. Any further discussion, or?
Well, but-
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I-
Counselor?
I'm just, like, in the invoice here, the yearly list price is 32,000, and then the term is 36 months, and it's a 45% discount for the 36 months. So I guess I just want to know, I completely know, like, yeah, if we want to start with the 1 year, but I think we should know what the actual cost of 1 year is.
So you want to hold off on this until we get that?
To me, it makes what?
We can hold off.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
until we, where did Tony go? The negotiator.
Table. Yeah.
And if you can get like the 1 year, the 2 year, and the 3 year, and, you know, then we can, if
That's a great
that's.
idea.
I will do my best
Okay.
to try to keep
Table
the
it.
cost the same, and then for the year 1, year 2, and year 3.
Yeah.
But I will hopefully within this week or early next week, before we go to the conference.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. So we'd like to table this until our next meeting, please. And thank you, Mr. Yes, please.
I just wanted to respond to your concern, Councilor Toller. For residents to participate, they don't have to have social media pages. They don't have to be active on Facebook or whatever. So it's just a way to get feedback. You know, we can create surveys and polls and send them directly to them.
No, I understand
Just wanted
that
to make
part. I'm
sure,
just
yeah.
saying we have to be a little more creative thinking when we're
Yep.
trying to reach certain residents, because, you know, sometimes just good old-fashioned mailing something to the house works too.
Yep.
So that was
That's all.
really my thing. No, I
Yeah,
get
just
it.
wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, please. The next resolution, Counselor Lockman, the bill list.
Okay, Bill List Resolution R-24-248, whereas invoices against the Township of Montclair in favor of the following persons for the amounts set opposite their respective names have been received, duly audited, and found correct. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Township of Montclair in the County of Essex that said invoices be and they are hereby ordered paid, and that checks be drawn by the Finance Department to the order of such persons for the amounts respectively, and hereinafter stated on the schedule attached hereto and made a part hereof. The total amount is $12,333,635.95. I so move.
Second. Discussion? Counselor Toller.
Thank you. I see on the bill list, there's another bill payment, and if this, maybe the manager can, for Big Belly Solar. We paid this last month as well for about the same amount. Is this something new, or is this for additional garbage cans, or? It's,
I don't know the answer to that, Counselor.
purchase order 2400272. Solar-powered sidewalk receptacles. If I'm not mistaken, it was on for the bill list last month, too, for about the same amount of money. And I remember the gentleman was here for the department, and I asked him about the garbage cans or the receptacles, if they're going to be placed in the fourth ward. So I'm just wondering why we're paying them again.
I can get you that answer. I don't have this.
Oh, sure. Hey, good evening, Maja. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It could be for the lease pay, monthly lease payment for the operation,
So we're
but I'm
leasing
not
these, we
sure.
don't own them?
No, basically, no. We are like a long-term lease for the use of it because it's connectivity and all that. It's just not for the can, but the data connectivity. You can look on your phone and you can see which garbage can is 3/4 full or 2/3 full. And I know certain members of the prior council used to do that, so that's what I'm saying.
Wow, leasing garbage cans. All right, well, that's exciting.
So you don't know, though? You said
I don't even,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even see, but I can
Okay.
look it up and tell you tomorrow, or I can
Yes,
look on.
please. I
Yeah.
just wanted to,
Yes.
make sure we're not being redundant.
Yeah,
But
no,
if this is a
yeah.
lease, we might need to look at that contract.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. I will send you.
Thank you.
But I really like those garbage pails.
I do too. Any further discussion? Yes, please. Ding, ding, ding. Moment's up. I know. Yes, Councilor D'Amato.
Just could somebody explain to me what the debt service for the bid loan is? What is that? To the state of New Jersey?
Good evening again. Many years ago, for Business Improvement District took a loan from DCA, and the township was paying ever since. This was an understanding between the Business Improvement District and the township. Every year we pay $32,666, around that is a yearly payment. We have,
And what is the duration of that loan?
I believe we have another less than 100,000, 90,000 left. Every year it's 32,666.
So another 5 years or something,
So
3 or 4 years.
3.5 years left.
Huh.
It is, I believe at one point it is to build some dais or something near the Church Street. They built something and the township agreed to pay their loan.
Madam CFO, I have one other question. The payment for the library for elevator repairs, which is great. Where does that come from? In your, is that from our, what account does that come from?
Oh, elevator repairs, we don't pay their elevator repairs. It could be, recently they had some issue and they applied to the insurance company for reimbursement. Insurance gave us the check instead of the library, so we are reimbursing that. Do you know what is the bill number? Can I see?
It's 99066.
What's the page number? It's like about $12,000
Yes.
they got back. If that's a insurance reimbursement. Instead of reimbursing the insurance company, instead of
understand.
cutting the check to the Montclair Public Library, they gave to the Township of Montclair, so we are now paying it back.
They have insurance for some aspect of their facilities.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Counselor Tobler?
I had a question, but I can just email the manager because I see a lot of work boot payments, reimbursements, and I'm just wondering if our employees, is there a contracted vendor that they use or a store that they go to that they can get a solid rate for their uniforms?
It depends on the contract, but I don't believe they have to go to a specific store.
Okay, because that may be something
They
we
get
want to look
reimbursed.
at.
Some of the uniforms, yes, we bid it out and we get the vendor to present, but some of the union contracts require the municipality to pay every year to the employees.
Yes,
They
I
said no.
understand that.
That one is not, it's a uniform upkeep, or the shoes, boots, or certain things. Maybe those are the ones towards the end of the year, there is a lot of boot reimbursement of $150 approximately.
They have to provide us with receipts before they're reimbursed.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. I was just wondering if our employees had a specific store that they utilize to buy their
No.
uniforms
We
and
don't require them
boots.
we don't require them to go to a
Okay.
specific store.
But we do bid it out, I forgot the vendor name, but 2 vendors we do use
Right.
for the uniforms, police and others.
They don't pay for the.
Counselor Lockman?
So I have a question for you. I guess you, I don't know. So on page 3 of 10, there's township funding of $69,500 to the Montclair Early Childhood Corp. Can you describe the funding of how are they sourced? I thought they were private.
It's in the budget, it's
Yes.
a donation kind of.
So we don't have to do that. It's a voluntary donation to
Right.
the early childhood.
It's
This
been
is a
there.
budgeted
It's
item.
been there
For
forever,
years and years,
but it
it's-
is not something that they're privately funded, right? They raise their own funds and tuition for.
I think the township's been subsidizing them from day one.
But is it a requirement? That's the question.
There was a discussion about it recently, I think last year or a year before. Now the state is funding the preschool.
Right.
There was a discussion.
Yeah, the
about
funding
it.
has changed for preschool, so why,
Yeah.
do we
But then
still need to
it's-
pay
it's-
this?
It's a
That's the
council's
question.
decision to put it in the
Right.
budget.
Okay. Once again, the Grinch speaking.
Anyone else? Counselor Tollard, any further question? No? Anyone else? Yes, Deputy Mayor Anderson?
The only question that I had was about, I'm sorry, the Monarch Housing Associates, $10,000 for the strategic plan. So was the deliverable what we had heard in the housing presentation that we heard a couple of months ago? Does anybody know?
I don't know the answer to that. I just know that this was placed in the budget last year by Councilor Cummings, I believe, for this, the study.
I see.
And I believe the study is complete, but I'm not sure. I can give you the specifics on which study this is.
And the study, you know, if we're paying $10,000 for a study, I'd like to see the results of the study. Yeah.
Right. Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Birmingham,
Yes.
Counselor D'Amato,
Yes.
Counselor Lockman.
Yes.
Counselor Toller. Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Baskerville.
Yes, thank you. Manager Lapola, if you would be so kind, please, as to walk us through discussion items number 5 through
Okay.
22.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Item number 5 is a resolution adopting the council meeting schedule for the year 2025. I'll just go through them. You want to, yeah, we can just, okay. Number 6 is a resolution designating the official newspapers for all advertisements and notices and designating the 2 newspapers to receive notices of meetings for the calendar year 2025. We are aware of the issue of the ledger, so, yes, we're well aware of that issue, and they're going out of business January 30th or 31st or
February,
something.
yeah.
But the legislature will be addressing this issue in terms of the legal requirements for advertising.
It's such an outrage. We have a real live journalist here. Everybody should say hi to Nat Kadash, a local paper. And this is forcing us to give money to papers that are not locally, and in the case of, very unfortunately, in the case of the Montclair Times, a zombie newspaper that is not a real newspaper anymore and exists solely to collect money from municipalities, from what I can tell. They ran for weeks and weeks during our election without a single story about the election, from what I can tell. And it drives me bananas. It is in the library, and it is a source of disinformation at this point, because people look at it and they think that they're getting the news, and they are not. And I do not want to give them a nickel. And I know people who work there, and I like them, who work for that organization. But unfortunately, this mandate is something I think we should just sue the state. Can we do that, Paul?
Get off the
The
soapbox.
legislature is working on
Okay.
on
And I do
adopting
believe that
legislation.
the whole
for this,
debate on whether or
and-
not it could be online, your advertising purely online has been, the legislature's been looking at that for years, so that may very well be part of the solution to the problem.
I thought when I read the bill that was proposed that died in committee, it said that a town could have its own website, and the legal notices could be posted on the town's website.
Along with posting it in digital media as well. And yeah, I have the bill here, Assembly number 4231.
Well, that's the new one, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the other one.
and there is discussion of just having the municipality post the notices directly on their websites without having to post it. And this has been going on for several years now. From 2016, the league had sent a letter and did a resolution of support requesting that the legislature change this law. So also the New Jersey Institute of Local Government Attorneys, which I'm a member of, they've sent a letter down to the legislature and to the governor to change the law. So there's a lot going on, and hopefully this will be addressed. And if it's not addressed by the time we need to post notices after February, I'm sure it will become a court case, to answer your question.
Government moves slowly, right?
Happen.
Even this government.
Okay, number 7 is a resolution authorizing the person-to-person transfer of alcohol beverage plenary retail consumption license number 0713-33-002-009 from MGH Morimoto MTC LLC to Montclair Drinks LLC.
Can I?
Yes, Council Williams.
I just have a problem with, because I don't know what address it's going to or anything. You just have a name. It could be anywhere in town who'd like to have a address associated with. They're paying $1 million for a license. I'm assuming that they have an address in mind. It's not
Mayor.
unlike the cannabis, where you get it. Maybe it's like the cannabis, where you get a license and then you have to hunt for the address.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. This license, Counselor Williams, is currently held in pocket, so there's no place. There's no address. There's no location yet. This resolution would authorize the transfer from one entity, one LLC, to another. That's it. It's not actually going to operate yet. It's just moving from one person to another.
So, another question. So, when they actually go to make use of the license, does that?
Yes.
It comes back to us then?
Yes.
Got it.
Councilor Lockman?
Just, Clerk, how many pocket licenses do we have in town? Do you know?
From the top of my head, less than 4.
Less than 4? 4
Yeah.
or less? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I can give you the exact answer. If you, okay.
This was kind of curious. And that's out of what, 13 licenses, is it?
No, we have about 26.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's all of the licenses,
Yeah.
so that includes the distribution licenses, which are like liquor stores.
Yeah.
Then the
Yeah.
consumption, which are the restaurants. We have the hotel.
Yeah, okay.
Soon, we may have a theater.
Yeah.
So all of them
Oh,
combined, it's
good.
about
Oh, they
26.
cornered us at,
Yeah, a new law was passed back in 2019 that
Right.
allowed not-for-profit organizations to have a consumption license if they had a certain amount of seats in their theater. Montclair Film is going through this. They're having a very difficult time getting a license, so they may not get one, but they're appealing right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 8 is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds pursuant to NJSA 48:4-58.
oh,
Next one.
Yep.
Okay, number 9, I'll keep going, Mayor. Okay. Number 9 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of a fair and open contract for the Township New Jersey licensed plumbing services provider. So this is to exercise option 2 of 2 for the plumber and plumbing services and increase the amount to succeed from $25,000 to $40,000.
Can I just ask?
Counselor Lockman?
Yeah. I understand this plumber's from Jersey City. How come we don't use a local plumber?
Oh, that
This
was my
was bid.
question right there.
This
You know
was
we
not-
have them.
This was a fair and open, wasn't it? Yeah.
Plenty of them. Hire it.
Yeah, it was done by bid.
know.
Yeah,
McCormick.
this was done by bid, Counselor.
McCormick, we had a ton of them.
It was bid,
Oh, it's bid?
yeah.
Oh.
So did we get bids from others, or was it kind of?
I could find that out for you.
Yeah, I'm
This is
kinda curious.
option 2, so, but this would,
Yeah, and how long ago was that? Yeah. I'm just curious.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get you the information.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good
Okay,
question.
okay. Number 10 is a resolution authorizing purchases from vendors pursuant to contracts with certain approved county and New Jersey State cooperative contract pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-10. What this was, as you recall, in one of the comments from the auditors, was that we had certain contracts that did not have resolutions approving the contracts because they were purchased from cooperatives. So this resolution is an omnibus resolution that covers all of those contracts.
Counselor Lockman and then Counselor Williams.
So I was just, I was just going to ask, is this amount, these amounts projected to be in our 2025 budget? And if so, what's the detail that supports the amount of each vendor?
These contracts were already entered into, so, for next year, but we need to have a resolution.
Okay.
Right?
They're purchases through cooperatives,
Yep.
so we need a resolution authorizing that
For
for
going
next year.
forward? Yeah, and so,
Yes.
but what's the data that supports the amounts that they're looking for, if these are budgeted amounts?
No, I can get that you the
Oh.
information, that would be,
So just a question, does Mr. Generis report to you? Ms. Rao? Okay, thank you.
open it.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
So, as usual, we're on the same.
These two on the same
But-
wavelength.
But I was also going to ask, what were the not-to-exceed amounts for this year? I guess these are the amounts that are going to happen next year, and to Councilman Loffman's point, how do these numbers come up with?
Right.
So I was just curious what it was for this, and there are a lot here, so
I know.
just give me a general.
I am also seeing this now, so generally what we do is, in the beginning of the year, we do a general resolution allowing the municipality to enter into, to purchase goods and services from the state-approved vendor, county-approved vendor, and the other co-op-approved vendors. We never used to put any amounts, just that, just the vendors that are approving. But the auditors put a recommendation that if anybody goes over the threshold of $44,000, you need to have a separate resolution any time it is going over the threshold, not generally, but any time it goes over. That was the recommendation the auditors made it. But now I think to avert that, I don't know. Do you have any?
No, I don't have any other backup
memo?
besides that.
I haven't seen it. This is the memorandum must have gone to you first.
And copied to you, October 17th.
So,
Maybe based on the,
I can get you the
Prior
information
con-
before the next,
Yeah,
before it comes
I'd
for a
like to
vote.
know, like, what's the basis of these numbers? Are these
Sure.
numbers increasing from the year before?
Right, I'll
all of
get you that
yeah.
info.
Right.
like, for example, sorry, Mayor.
No, go right ahead, Counselor
Um,
Birmingham.
So for example, number 7, where it says tires for various vehicles and it's not to exceed $130,000, like, we can figure out this year how much we spent on tires?
I am
Yes.
thinking, I'm
Seems like-
assuming
Yes.
based on this year's figures, maybe he may have come up with this number.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Manager?
Ready? Number 11, resolution awarding a non-fair and open contract to Atlantic Coast Recycling for processing and disposing of recycling materials. Okay, sorry about that.
Excuse,
Yes, Counselor Williams.
I'm gonna ask you one of those questions that you're probably not gonna have the answer to.
I'm good at those.
So, do we know if they're actually recycling these materials? Because I don't know what I was watching. Hopefully it wasn't a movie and I'm not wasting everyone's time. But I was watching something where they said it was like 9% of all recyclable stuff is actually getting recycled, and the rest is just getting shipped off to some country where, you know, they're just burying it because that's their source of income. So anyway, that's a lot.
That was actually, that's a good question, and at one point in time, a lot of the stuff that was recycled was sent to other countries, but I think that market has changed, but I will get you the answer to that question.
May I?
Counselor Lockman.
Yeah, I think the League of Women Voters had an intern who did a study about where does Montclair's garbage and recycling go, and she produced a big pamphlet about this. I can get you a copy, and maybe that'll answer some of your questions, okay? I didn't read it, I must admit. Well, put me on the spot.
Ready? Number 12, resolution extending the fair and open contract to Matrix New World Engineering, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, PC Matrix, for environmental remediation project at the Montclair DC Yard located at 219 North Fullerton.
Anyone? Yes, Counselor.
This itself is not troubling to me, but I just am baffled by what I feel like we are seeing resolution after resolution sometimes on cleanup of the same lots. And what I'd love to know is, what is the cumulative amount that we spend to clean up, whether or not there's grant money involved, some of these places that have had bad,
Sure.
Plumes of stuff, of either diesel fuel or gasoline mostly. And what do we do to prevent that from happening in the future? I mean, we have a couple of gas stations that, look a little old school, let's say, and you just wonder, are they going to close one day and then we're going to get a bill the next day? And that obviously this land is all expensive and we can make, if somebody walks away, but is the same process not just
Look,
happening over and over?
unfortunately, in New Jersey, in any developed area, it's virtually every piece of property seems to have environmental issues. And these cleanup processes are long-term and funding dependent, and then there's monitoring by, an LSRP and the DEP, so it takes forever. So this is just, how it is in this situation. And I'm not sure when whether it was we polluted it or it was polluted before we bought it, and who, we acquired it, and that's something that we have to deal with.
This is not for any cleanup. This is for, correct me if I'm wrong, this is for
A study.
figuring out a solution how to clean up.
It's the same thing.
It's $100,000, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the second payment that we paid
Yes.
more to before. This is just figuring out, brainstorming how to clean up.
That's all of them.
Counselor Lockman?
Yeah, so I don't understand this. I thought this was, it seems to be it's looking for an increase, requesting an extension to the mandatory time frame. That's under the second whereas, right?
Yep.
And then it's to making them well certified. And then I don't really know what else is it about. It just seems to be it's looking for an extension of the mandatory time, and it looks like Matrix didn't finish the work, so they're requesting more time. So why does this mean more money? It's just, maybe it's just the way this is written is not that clear, but I don't get it.
I don't hear. Good
Well,
question.
if we're not certain, then we should table it.
But we can get the answers between now and the next month. It's just for
No.
discussion. So we can get the answer by next meeting.
I actually think it's just the extension and the money remains the same.
Okay,
Okay, but that's
Right.
not clear,
I-
okay?
I- I will- I-
Thank you.
Noted.
okay. Manager?
It's not the way.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have something?
But it might have been the original agreement, and now the original agreement is being extended. It's just not clear, so it needs to be clarified.
Okay, I will get you that
Agreed.
Yeah,
clarification.
thank you.
Manager?
Okay, number 13, resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriations pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87. Items 13 through 17, and then are the same, which is basically inserting grants into our budget. So these are various grants. The first one is BVP awards for $17,805. The next one is from the Governor's Council on Alcohol Abuse and Rehabilitation in the amount of $15,243.95. The next one is the Safe and Secure grant for $6,270.83. And I just on number 16, I think there was a mistake on the backup, because the backup is not the grant referred to in the resolution, but the backup that was provided is a Board of Public Utilities grant.
Yeah.
So I think we have to provide you with the correct backup before the vote.
Counselor Williams?
Yeah, just on number 15, I was confused here because it said that the money was received in May, and I was just wondering why we were just doing this now.
You can ask Ms. Rao why, it's her resolution.
Yeah. Resolution requesting approval of items of revenue.
Number 15, resolution. In the paragraph, we are saying we received.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rao, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing where it says we received in May.
In the next page, it says that
Payment details?
an ACH was received.
May 21st, 2024. The backup to your resolution.
Under the payment details?
There's a payment details.
Oh, I don't have it. Maybe it's in your package. We continuously keep getting it and safe and secure grants.
That's fine. This is money coming in. I was just curious why we received money in May and
We're reconciling now, accounts reconciling, so it's not used yet. End of the year, it will be charged to the police salaries. 2 of the officers are provided funding for their, so it will be charged at the end of the year. So we are all gathering up, all finishing up before the end of the year. The state has a deadline of December 19th, I believe, to do all this. So before December 19th, we are finishing. But nothing is spent of that.
And Ms. Rao, on number 16, the backup, the resolution talks about it's a Green Acres grant for $750,000, but the backup is a BPU grant for
Yeah, I believe there
$264,000.
were two sent, and one is missing the backup, one is missing the front. But there is a BPU grant of $264,000 that was missing, and there is this.
Well, we don't have that resolution.
Yes,
so.
that I know. And
All right.
now there is a $750,000 another grant.
Well,
The front of it is missing.
The backup for that is missing, so we need that fixed.
Yeah, so two. Yeah.
So we need the backup for one and the resolution for the other.
Yes.
Okay.
As well as number 14. It doesn't. This backup is from November 2022, and the amounts are a little different than what reads on the cover. I don't know if this is, and it's addressed to Mayor Spiller, so unless these go together.
It is the police grant, right?
Number 14?
Number 14.
Now,
Oh,
this,
number 14, it was
right.
It was
Okay.
an old grant.
Right.
Actually, it was supposed to be, that not, the health department was not going to continue with this grant. They want to,
They didn't give us a more up-to-date letter?
During the budget hearings last year, it was discussed, and they thought it is more work than worth it, and so they were going to not continue with it. So this is an old one. They are no longer continuing now, but this is an old one. They informed recently, so it is.
This is for the amount of money we're receiving for fiscal year
It
2024.
is not received, the award is,
Award
award is
for two-
provided.
If you read the
adopt it-
second paragraph of the letter,
Yeah,
it
but
says,
said June. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, it just says $15,243.95 for FY 2024. So that's why it's,
It is, once it is adopted, then we can apply for reimbursement, and then the county will pay.
Okay, thank you.
okay.
I'm sorry. Deputy Mayor and then Councilor Birmingham.
I'm sorry, it's Ms. Rao. I just wanted to just follow up on Councilor Williams' question about discussion item number 15. I'm just trying to get some clarity on this. So the payment date, if the check total $6,270 is stated as being May 21st. So, and then we're getting this now. So I guess I'm taking that to mean that this money is not going to be available until the end of the year. So I'm just trying to understand, and I mean, if you don't know the answer right now, it's fine, but why the lag, and does this actually mean that this money, why is this money not available until now?
So I'll tell you the process. In our bank, just money appears so often, some checks and all. Sometimes we can't even reconcile what one of the accounting person sends an email to all these departments. Hey, can you tell me whether this is for your department, Sometimes we get, sometimes, and like, right now, I can tell you there is another $10,000 hanging. We are still trying to reconcile whose application is it, who got this. So it just appears, state doesn't provide more information. Then as we reconcile towards the end, we go through different departments. Hey, this is for certain quarter of 2023. That is the money we just got, That's what the end of the year reconciliation process finishes, and then the auditors will check the end of it. And we have this safe and secure grants come regularly. Sometimes they come like a year lag. Sometimes, yes, sometimes a year lag too.
Yes, Councilor Birmingham.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 16, the $750,000 from the Green Acres grant, is that earmarked for the park?
Yes, that is for the all-access playground.
Okay, so we accept this, but this comes with a match? Like, we have to match?
And then you have to do an ordinance, adopt an ordinance providing that matching funds.
Okay.
This is just to accept the grant.
Right.
To spend it, you need to have an ordinance to spend the whole $1.5 million, whatever the cost of this project is.
Okay. And then the grant from the BPU is from the clean, it's for the clean fleet?
It's a clean fleet grant.
Okay.
This is the first quarter, we may be using that, and it may get extended also. That's what Lisa Johnson told me, it can get extended.
Okay. This is Lisa's
Yes,
grant,
yes.
right? And this is for like the charging stations?
It is for charging stations, for the vehicles, a few items. Actually,
Okay.
I may have it on my phone.
That's okay. I've heard a little bit about this. I just wanted to know if this was what I was thinking. So I think it is. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a really nice job from Lisa.
Yeah, it's for the vehicles and chargers and public L2 chargers, fleet L2 charger, fleet L2 charger, make ready, DCFCs.
Yeah.
I don't know what DCFCs are. There are two kinds of DCFCs.
Those are the fast chargers. Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
fast chargers. Yeah, that's great. No, again, I think this is really nice work from Lisa to get these grants. And yeah.
Council D'Amato, and then Deputy
Manager? Oh,
No.
I just wanted to know what the process is for picking the locations and the disposition of the chargers in these locations, especially the one that is in a business district. I know that there's an extra grant match, a bonus in there for being in certain parts of town, which is, that's great. But I'm also troubled by the fact that it says just like one charger, and there must be a fair amount of overhead to get to a location and do something. And so why is it like one charger in a location, and how did we pick?
I can get the answer for you. I've been part of discussions about, as we increase our electric vehicle fleet and where we're going to do charging for those vehicles here or wherever. We've had several meetings, which include I've been attending, also Lisa Johnson and Manager Mono, trying to figure out where we can do this, and also Representative DCS has also been present. So that's, but I will get you the information as to, I think that's basically been grant-driven there, so.
I would also, thank you. I would just say that while we are still and will be working on our own committees, what goes through what committee and narrowing that down, this would strike me as a piece of work that should be trafficked through a committee a little bit, just the infrastructure and facilities committee. I think we're all interested in how the infrastructure of our parking lots and so forth is changed. So it would be nice to be able to have a discussion about that in committee before this would come up. Although this does seem, because it is grant specific, to be a bit of a special case. And I know that at least it's been like giving birth, I know, to get the money out of the Trenton.
Council Birmingham? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I think I've heard from Lisa that she's had PSC&G look, because there has to be, evaluation of each location, and I think she has been doing that work, so we should hear from that. But I would note that this grant period runs from 5/1/2023 to 5/1/2025. So this grant is expiring. So hopefully we can get that going and do what we need to do. So thanks.
Council Williams?
Yeah, just a general comment. I think that this is good, but I just want to be careful about the fast chargers for our own fleet, because it does degrade the battery. Fast chargers should only be used in case of emergency and not for regular charging. So just as we kind of do this, just keep that in mind.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Manager?
Number 17 is a resolution requesting the approval of items of revenue appropriations pursuant to the same statute. This is for the grant for the license plate readers in the amount of $55,020.
Councilor Lockman?
So are these stationary
Yes.
readers? Oh, okay, so these are going to be put on a building?
Locations, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just a question, though. Did you have any conversations with like David Genova, talking about the developer community chipping in for some of these?
Not yet.
Okay, but you're aware of that?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Williams?
So are these the things that go on top of the street lights?
Like the poles that hang in there.
Poles, I
No,
see
these-
like,
I think they're affixed to some buildings, et cetera. They're all in different
and they
places.
read license plates?
Yes.
For what purpose?
So when they're looking for someone who's stolen a car, usually,
No, it's better than that.
yeah, and they,
The chief told me, I'm sorry.
Right.
It's that they get an automatic ping whenever a stolen car comes by. And so they know, and because
Oh.
a very, very significant fraction of crimes, of serious property crimes are committed by people in stolen cars, it really can make a difference.
May I?
Counselor Lockman?
And the other point is that the towns around us have these types of readers, and I guess criminals know that Montclair doesn't, so they will avoid the other towns and come here.
Oh, awesome.
Somebody tell me that.
Well, are the,
And
anyway,
they just quickly read the license plate and that's it. It's not, there's no privacy issues. Oh, well, that was the thing about some of the developers came, we can't tell them.
We're gonna put it on so-and-so street.
no, I mean, good point. I mean, we should put dummy ones. Anyway.
Put them on, yeah, on the police department.
Counselor Lockman, did you have something? Manager?
okay, number 18 has been pulled.
It is.
Number 19 is a resolution authorizing refund of certain escrow account balances where the in the planning department, which have been withdrawn or completed, and this authorizes the release of the money. Number 20 is a resolution authorizing the tax collector to process any tax refund of less than $10 and authorizing the tax collector to cancel any property tax refund, delinquency, or other charges and fees imposed by the municipality of less than $10 without further action on the part of the governing body. Number 21 is a resolution setting the rate of penalties and grace period for the receipt of delinquent taxes and municipal charges. And number 22 is a resolution to cancel grants receivable and grants reserve appropriation balances. Can you address the last one, Ms. Rao?
Okay, I'm sorry, but can I ask a question about?
Yes, Counselor Lockman?
21?
I'm sorry, I went fast.
Yeah. So just tell me, how is a person who is delinquent in their taxes informed of their delinquency? Is that done by,
No, we do send out the delinquent notices
Yeah.
periodically, but, after the deadline is
Yeah.
passed, that grace period is passed,
Yeah.
automatically they get delinquency accrues on their balances. If people see online, and every month, they can see what's the balance of.
so they get one notice of delinquency? Do you try
I
to?
don't know how periodically, but it is again a statute. We follow the
A
statute.
statute?
Yes.
Okay. You don't call them or email them or do anything?
11,000 properties, no. But we do send out, what is that, NG alert, or what is that alert that town uses, the alert system? We do send out through that too, notices, the email, text
Okay.
messages, kind of, I forgot the
Thank you.
notices. But we do send out.
Thank you. I'm good.
Did someone have a question on number 22?
Yeah. I
Counselor
re-
Williams?
Thank you. I read this, I have no clue what it
Yeah.
is.
Cancellation of grant balances.
Oh, cancellation of grant balances. Yeah, there are certain grants, when you adopt the grant, we get an award of the grant. When the grant is awarded, that doesn't mean the money comes in. We just do a resolution to adopt it, to insert into the budget. That means, and most of the times, these are reimbursable grants. That means the township is fronting the money. Township fronts the money, and then we apply for reimbursement, we get the reimbursement. But sometimes, okay, let's say the grant is $20,000. We provide the $20,000 in the account, so departments can use up to $20,000, and then we can get the reimbursement up to $20,000. But sometimes they don't use it. The time expired, or the project completed, or something. At that time, only, let's say, $15,000 only uses. So the other $5,000, it's time barred or project completed. We cancel that out. That means the receivable is not coming, and the budget is not used. Similarly, there are several, you have the list of the grants, right?
Yes.
And yeah, those are all, some are old grants, some are programs changed, and we consult with the departments and they say, hey, this is no longer applicable, we can't. For the police grant, if you see especially the pedestrian and bicycle safety grant, that was time barred, they couldn't use it, and so that's canceling on both sides.
So does this mean we get awarded a grant, we have a certain amount of time to use the use the funds, we front the money, then we don't actually use it, so then...
Use it means we don't spend it.
Yeah, we don't spend it, but it was free money that we could have used.
It depends on the operation, maybe that's,
But, Mayor?
Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson?
I'm familiar with how this happens. It just bothers me, because it's like we're leaving money on the table. So I'd really like to understand, is this like a problem with grant management? Is it, like, what is this?
It's a department, whichever department applies for the grant, they apply for the grant estimating this much money they needed to do this kind of work. If they can't do that work or provide those services, then the grant expires.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I understand it, but I would really like to understand, because this is a lot of money. So I'd like to understand if it really is like they're overestimating their cost. Is it because they didn't get the money in time, and or like the management is off?
It's
like
not
that's
the money on time. It has most like 90% is not because of money on time. It's if they spend it, they apply for reimbursement, they get it. It's first they have to spend it for that purpose.
Do you oversee, do you oversee grants?
I see the accounting aspect of the grants, but how the grant services are provided are by the department.
So you don't manage the process?
I don't manage the service of it, no. Because they're specific to the department, like.
Yeah, but it's a financial function.
Yes. We see it, what it is charged for, and we provide the reporting. And like, for example, there's one grant, we haven't even used anything, but every quarter I submit the quarterly report to the grantor, hey, we use a zero. I check with the department, hey, what's happening? Hey, that's all.
Manager?
I'll get answers on that, too. Number 23 is a resolution authorizing execution of a fair and open contract with Giacor Contracting, Inc. of Hawthorne, New York, in the amount for bird netting at DCS in the amount of $94,760. While that sounds that the issue of birds in the garages is a very serious health problem, we are overwhelmed with bird droppings, other vermin, etc. It's been a problem there for a long time, and this is the solution that we've come up with to try to solve the problem.
Councillor Lockman?
How do the birds get in? Like, why don't we fix the problem?
Because the garage door opens.
But you can't close the door?
Well, while it's open, they can still
They
go
come in?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is that whole area is.
It's basically
It's been a
open.
problem for years. We've tried other things to stop it, but it is a major, and it's a health issue.
Yeah, I mean, but $90,000 for netting seems like a lot of money.
Yes, Councillor Williams.
Does this include installation or?
I believe it does. Yes.
Can't we just get bird feeders and the birds will go that way? I mean, I don't. It's late, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Like, do private mechanics and garages have this problem? I've just never heard I guess it
Airport
makes sense,
hangar?
but I've never really
I saw it
realized it would be a
myself, it was a
problem.
major issue, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's disgusting, like,
Yeah.
bird stuff is disgusting, but I've just never heard of it before, so.
Just one more question?
And now
Yes,
these other
Councilor
bugs and
Lockman.
other vermin, and it's just.
Yeah, is this, I mean, I recognize that the DCS, or whatever, the community, whatever it's called, has lots of physical issues with their buildings. Is this part of that? Is this, like, would a modern, building like this have the same problem, or is it just because we're old
I would
and we need
assume,
repairs?
I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that there would be a way to do this without this problem. This is
Yeah.
just a problem that's been there for,
Okay,
it's gotten worse over the years, but it's been there forever.
right.
So I'm sure the employees would love to give you a tour.
Yeah, we should have a tour.
I don't want to go anywhere near them.
Right.
The bird flu.
Yes, sir?
It includes installation.
And the bed bugs.
Sure.
Manager?
Number 24 is a resolution authorizing an agreement between the township and Montclair Emergency Services for Hope Mesh for emergency overnight shelter services for the homeless in the amount of $35,000.
Manager? I have a question. First of all, I'm very, very, very excited to see this and always happy to put resources towards those that are less fortunate and experiencing difficult times. I want to know, in terms of that amount, how we decided on that. I know we probably did similar, if not the same, last year. And I'm just wondering if we have a breakdown on where the resources are going, and if so, is there any opportunity to have conversation to see if we can assist them to any greater degree? I'd just like to have a breakdown, like, is our money going to staffing, security, or is it going to blankets and goods? Can they provide that for us?
I think it covers everything, but I do know that we get a notification that once the temperature drops below a certain number, that they automatically open their facilities and bring the unhoused to stay in the facilities due to the inclement weather. So when we get a notice, if it could be days in a row, if it's a cold streak or whatever. So that's the basic service that this, important service that this provides, plus all these other things. I believe this is the amount, and I could be wrong, my recollection of this conversation we had last year with them was this is the amount that we agreed to with them that would cover the cost for doing this.
Okay.
There's not been, I have not received a request for any additional funding.
Okay, well, I'm
sure we
asking
could-
because I
that was
actually
nec-
attend
that
their
was
meetings,
necessary.
and they do,
Yeah, that
it
was
would be helpful if we could
necessary,
provide some additional services, and I think the amount that they said in the meetings that I attended might have been somewhere closer to 50,000. I'm just not clear. That's why if they could give us a breakdown of where our resources go, and it would just be really helpful, because I'd like to be thoughtful about the resources, if there's, something that we could do to really help as the numbers go up. And from what I understand, the numbers of residents that are in, the Township of Montclair at the time, they are experiencing homelessness are going up. And so I just want to make sure that if we have an opportunity to help more, we can at least look into what that would look like. Yes, Councilor Lockman.
Yeah, so I just have a process question. So this amount is budgeting or asking for 2025? So why isn't this part of the regular budget process? Is it because of the, we need it for the winter or
You
something?
need to authorize the agreement, it's an annual agreement.
Oh, it's agreement we're
Yes, the
authorizing, not
agreement,
this, are we authorizing the monies as well, the 35,000?
Yes,
We're
but
doing
there's-
both,
So,
but
but you have to vote in order for us to have this agreement.
I
to
got
do
you,
this.
okay, thank you.
And this is for 2025.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
Yes.
Toller.
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback off of what you mentioned about a breakdown. I too would like to see that. I feel like if we can pay or may pay $95,000 for bird poop, we can probably help mesh a little bit.
There it
Just wanted to
is.
put that out there.
People versus poop. Any other discussion? No. Okay, and so at this point in time, we are going to have opportunities for each individual council person to have discussion on whatever they would like to discuss. They can discuss anything, and, I'm sorry?
No, I thought we had on the original agenda that I looked at the council committee protocol.
We did, but we have a meeting that's scheduled specifically
Is it still
for
there?
that purpose.
Oh, no, it's still there.
Take it off.
Yeah.
So I have the,
And so at this point in time, we're going to go from council to council, and when we finish that, if there's something else that we need to discuss, we'll do that. So we're going to start with Councilor D'Amato, and if you would like to have discussion or share anything, now would be the time to do that.
Well, first and most important, tomorrow night is Ladies' Night Out in Upper Montclair, so everybody should be there, and the meters will be running, so bring some quarters and spend some money. I would like to go back to what I was beginning to say after the public comment. I think that we really do need to do, always try harder to listen to people and also respond to them. Not at the time of public comment. I think we're doing a good job. It's not a dialogue. It's about the public having an opportunity to make a comment. It's in the name of the thing, so we should respect that. But when people raise important issues, we really need to respond to them. And there were two that were raised. One about a question about the legal compatibility of having one officer in the town be the HR director as well as the affirmative action officer. I do not know anything about that, but it was raised by several people who I consider to be great friends of the community and of this room.
I can answer the questions now if you like.
Whenever. Sure. Well, let me do both. And the second was the very trenchant comment by Mr. Harrison, who the chairman of our long-running chairman of our zoning board of adjustment, a man who's been doing municipal land loss since I was getting lost in my parents' backyard. This is a guy who knows what he's doing, and he says that we have a problem. And if he says that we have a problem, I would like to know to what extent that is really happening. I don't know the process by which that should happen, but it should be independent and diligent and thorough. I understand that the growing pains and tussle between the independent Board of Education and the township over the Woodman Field complex, was something that happened, and it was resolved by an agreement between the two bodies. But if it is led to a solidified sense of outrage by a third important statutory body, we have a problem, and we need to fix that problem, or we need to at least find out what the problem is, especially if, as Mr. Harrison suggested, it may be putting us into legal jeopardy. So I don't know anything more about it other than just to respect both of those groups of, those opinions, and say that we really need to be serious about addressing them and finding out where we are. Thank you.
Can I just respond to one thing? So Mr. Harrison, may I?
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Harrison also mentioned about the zoning board annual report, and so I've added that to the EDC agenda for us to look at our next EDC meeting, because I agreed with him that there's many things that we need to look at in that.
I'll defer to council on the
Yes, Manager.
issue. Thank you, Mayor. I will address the affirmative action thing. There is nothing in New Jersey law, federal law, ethics law that precludes an HR director from being the affirmative action officer. This is an important function that we need to have. She's being compensated the same way that the previous designee was, through a stipend. it's, fact of the matter is, we're working on the updated affirmative action plan, which if you had looked at it or had seen it before, it's 8 years old and still has Mark DeShields as the township manager. So we are working to fix that. Everyone is protected here. They have the right to go to the EEC, even under the affirmative action plan. You have options of where you can go to file a complaint. We are very diligent. We follow the law. We give our employees options. They are protected. And just because people have decided on their own that there's some kind of a conflict, it's not a legal conflict under state or federal law. It's not an ethical conflict. Ms. Dawkins there's not even a requirement in New Jersey that you have any kind of have certain particular training, I don't think, for affirmative action officer. You just have to designate someone if there's more than 50 employees. But she's been well-trained. She's been doing this for years, and she does a great job. And we should have the updated plan relatively quickly. And all of the required reporting, et cetera, that's in that plan will now be done and will be available to both the governing body and the public to inspect.
I'm sorry, so you said she's been doing this for years. She's been doing this for years?
She's not been doing it here, but she's got experience in her other jobs doing this. This is not, so she has the ability to do it. She was, in my opinion, the most qualified person working for the Township of Montclair to perform this, important service, and that is why I decided to assign it to her, because there really is no one else other than the handful of people, literally 3 people who work in HR, who have any background at all in being an affirmative action officer. So that is why I decided to assign that to her.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Toller.
Thank you. Thank you for your synopsis of what happened, but in most places of businesses, they have the affirmative action officer in a separate department. If you said that there's no law or statute, if you can just email that to the full council that specifies that, it would make me feel better.
Sure.
In my place of employment, HR is one department, the affirmative action officer is someplace else, because if an employee has an issue with, say, the HR director, it gets a little...
We also had the same problem because the previous affirmative action officer is in the health department.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was always, okay, what about anyone who's above him in the chain of command in the health department? That, I have seen this where it reports to council's office. I've seen it report directly to the manager. I've seen it in some places report directly to the governing body, or I believe when I was at the Turnpike Authority.
I just want to see the law or statute,
there's
if
different
that
options here, but
specifies
it's
that
not-
this is okay to do
it's
it.
not
That's all I'm
precluded.
asking, is
Okay.
the law or
Well,
the
I
statute.
don't think you could prove a negative, and so I was going to suggest that to the governing body, that when someone comes up and makes generalities about the law, especially an attorney, it'd be nice if they would come with a statute to say what law is being violated. Just to say the law is being violated doesn't necessarily help us and point us in the right direction. So I contacted, while we were sitting here, and did a cursory review of the law, myself off Google lawyer, and contacted our outside labor counsel and asked, is there federal law or state law that prohibits the HR director from being the affirmative action officer? No, there's not. Then I looked at, I'm sure people were trying to figure out what I was doing. I looked up our policies, all right? So I looked at the employee handbook, for complaint procedure for discrimination, sexual harassment, or other type of workplace infraction. The employee is to go to the HR director first, if they're comfortable. If not, then they go to the manager's office or their supervisory department head. There's a lot of redundancy also in our building. You can go to the Civil Rights Commission if you have a complaint, which the firefighters did once upon a time. They went to the Civil Service Commission to say that they had an issue. Affirmative action officer, and there's also federal and state EEO offices. So I think we're well protected here. I don't think there's a major issue. Even in the affirmative action plan that is the current plan, it says that you can go to the manager, HR director, or the affirmative action officer if you have a discrimination complaint. So I don't see anything from sitting here that prohibits the HR director from being the affirmative action officer. And if someone has some law, they should please provide it to the township attorney. That would be a great help. But according to our labor council, there is no law that exists.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else for you at this time, Councilor D'Amato?
Woodman Field, or you want me to start Woodman Field?
Well, Woodman Field's a tough one, Mr. LaPola, because the other council handled it. We handled it in executive session. As Mr. Harrison says, there could be litigious activity, there could be liability to the township. To discuss that in open public session could create a problem for us, and I would prefer to discuss it in executive session. But I will say this, listen. There was a court case where the BOE filed suit against the township because we had issued stop work orders from them moving forward with building the field. That case was conferenced with the judge. The judge didn't want to make the call. He felt it was a political issue. He directed the parties to meet and try to come up with a compromise. That compromise was reached by the township and the BOE. The judge so ordered that settlement. It was our outside counsel's opinion that order supersedes, the court supersedes any deliberate or decision by the zoning board. We followed our counsel's advice. I recognize that Chair Harrison is upset about that decision by the township, but I feel, and our outside counsel feels, that if we took any steps to break away from the agreement or default under the agreement or enforce the agreement, that would not be a good look for the township, and also may cause the township some legal liability there. So my understanding is that the field has been completed, and that the parties have moved on. In the settlement itself, or the court-ordered settlement, the BOE is to go to the zoning board of adjustment on any applications where they have jurisdiction in the future. That was part of that agreement. So I'm not sure what would come out of us moving forward and trying to compel the Board of Ed to go before the zoning board, other than to start further litigation, because they would obviously file something with the court.
And can I add something here, is that when we received the application from the Board of Education, it was given the exact same review by the township engineer as if they had, it was going to go through the zoning board process. So all stormwater regulations, it was reviewed for stormwater, all stormwater regulations were followed. We comply, we far exceed the requirements of the state DEP or state regulations on stormwater. So everything that would have gone through a review if it had gone before them was done the same way. So the end result would have been the same thing. I know I've heard arguments, and this was a very difficult time with the judge, because he basically said, settle the case. I don't have the experience that Mr. Harrison has, but I do, it just defies logic to me to say that any case involving development where there's you get a result in a settlement or a court order, that when you then have to issue a permit, anybody could appeal the permit to relitigate the same issue that was settled in the lawsuit. I know that is a little complicated to follow, but it's the truth. So we settle this, and you can do X, and as a result, you need to get this permit. I get the permit, I appeal the permit, and I'm relitigating X. So are we relitigating that same issue? If the permit says you can do X and that's the issue that they may change, how does that happen? It defies logic to me that we're settling a case, but that the settlement is not binding in terms of it because people can appeal the permit.
So can we get a copy of that in writing, Attorney Burrow, the agreement and the settlement that everybody agreed to? And do you know if the chairman has the agreement in writing that you're talking about where, they agreed to those things?
I don't know if the chairman has the agreement.
Sure he does.
The agreement, right, well, I don't know.
I would like to see this
I would assume he
also.
does. It's public information. You could get it off the docket. I will circulate it to the council so that the council has a copy of it. And when the agreement was coming about, the other council was, your prior predecessor council was made aware of it.
They were a part of it, right, from what?
Well, they were made aware of the fact that there was going to be a court order, consent order issued by the court. So it's not necessary, the consent order is what governs the actions between the parties. And both parties consented to that court order, which I will provide to you. That court order becomes law. It's now the law of the case and the law of the land. There's different legal ways to look at that as far as a challenge is concerned, but the real feeling is that the Board of Adjustment didn't have authority over that court order, that someone had to go to court to open that court order up.
Yes.
But I think we do also need to recognize that it is not just the Board of Adjustment that is feeling, institutionally marginalized in this situation. We have a lot of residents who, whatever people may think about their beefs or their complaints, are, I believe, legitimately feeling that their own avenues for redress, for legal redress, have been head off by this political settlement between the two parties. And that's unfortunate. And so we've created a situation that's not going to go away. And
Just remember, the residents, constituents always have the right to go to court. There's and there are constituents that do that. In that case, the constituents had filed a motion to intervene. The case was dismissed before their motion was heard. That was an avenue for them to go. Now, whether they wanted to, or whether it was too costly, or whether hiring an attorney, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yes.
Well, it's my turn anyway, right?
Yes, it is. It's your turn.
No, so I will just continue the conversation though. So, my feeling, and obviously we can't go back and redo what's been done, but looking forward, if spring training starts in March, I think we want to have a situation where the players who come to play on the field, are there for a positive experience, and the neighbors, as much as possible, also are having a positive experience. So what I've been struggling to figure out, because when Mr. Harrison comes here and says, council, you're doing, you're failing, or so, whatever he said, whatever you heard what he said, but, I'm struggling here because when I read the ordinance, the council is not the enforcing agent around uniform construction code, right? So I was actually on the phone with the state today because I was like, can you please help me? And obviously this situation, I could not get it to, as complicated as it is. But if this is a building, let's just say this is a building, not Woodman Field. If this is a building and somebody is working outside of permits, or the zoning board is saying, you need more permits, and it would be a construction official who would shut this down, right? Like, it would not be, council, you have to.
Correct.
Right? So this is where I'm struggling, because I really, 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 really want everybody to have, their say and to have, I'm just really struggling with what we can do. And whatever is in our power, I do think we can have a conversation.
Sure.
So that that people understand, this idea that stormwater, you're saying that stormwater has been managed and that was taken into consideration. I really think we need the neighbors to know that. And one of the pieces of the clause of that was that if any of the neighbors do have an impact, if the work is having an impact on their stormwater, that the BOE would have to fix it, would have to address it. And I think they need to know that, because if they are like, oh, wow, my basement is flooding or my backyard is flooding because of this, they do have some redress there. And so I think because I can't fully figure out the legal, and I know this has been a really complicated situation, but I think just for all of us, as much as we can figure out what we can do here to make it, we cannot undo the past. We just really, going forward, what can we do so that, March 1st, when the players come out and they're excited for their new field, what can we do to make sure that it's, that there's not a, conflict at that time?
Mayor, may I?
Yes, sir.
To answer Eileen, as far as what we can do, that's I think a topic that needs to be discussed amongst the council about policy. But you're right, we had the conversation with the other council, myself and Mr. Lapola, and they asked the same question, what can we do? And there is no authority on the council to intercede to pass a resolution or pass legislation.
Or stop work order.
Or stop work order or anything like that. That's an administrative process. So the council really, and that's why I said, they were informed of what was going on. They didn't have a decision-making process in what was going on. The construction official, by statute, is really an independent authority in the township because they're not supposed to be influenced. So even the manager can't direct the construction official, to issue a stop work order. He has to, or she has to do that amongst themselves by following the law. So that's part of the issue. The one other thing that I recall, because I came to the hearing for the Board of Adjustment and I listened, was just a witness watching, and each commissioner kind of went through what would have been the variances in the application that the Board of Ed had for that field. And they addressed the issues that Ms. Talley had addressed in fashioning some type of site plan approval. And that's what you would need for the variance. So how far should the field be set back? Where should the trees be planted? How much for drainage and so forth and so on. And they all seem to have indicated, from my recollection, and people could watch the hearing themselves and form their own opinion, was that each of the commissioners kind of felt that what the planner did was sufficient, or what they would have suggested the BOE do in order to issue the variance. I even think Mr. Harrison was very vocal about that. So it seemed to me at that point in time that if the planner had already reached that conclusion, the residents around the park, some of their concerns were being addressed. Now, what they lost out on was the ability to come up and speak. Some of them did during the hearing, but come out and speak and make their comments. And that's where I think a lot of the frustration lies, and their ability not to participate in the process, although I had heard they had conversations with the BOE. What those conversations were, I don't know. So I understand that, but I think, in my opinion, that residents should be given, at least be acknowledged that their complaints have been heard and that those complaints are being addressed. And that probably might have gone a little bit further with them than how this situation occurred moving forward.
So is that something that we can, is that something that we can potentially facilitate at this juncture? Again, it appears that the field is, but there, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's just about done.
Yeah, but I think there are maybe a few aspects of things that they're concerned about, and is this something that we can?
Lighting.
Because does a certificate of occupancy still need to be issued?
I don't know what's happening
Okay.
as far as that is concerned. I don't know where they are in the process. If you heard them, it would only be, again, the council can't take action. So, my understanding is the site plans have already been approved, and they've already built, hopefully, to spec. Now, if they haven't built to spec, and there's a resident or someone who thinks they have not met what that site plan approval should be, they can file a complaint with the construction official or with code enforcement.
Can you just clarify what you meant by expedite? A conversation or expedite a meeting between?
Facilitate.
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, I think that there are still, questions around, there's a gate, there's like a gate there that is by the back of the field. I'm sorry,
The backstop.
the backstop. So like the behind home plate and it's narrow. It's a narrow gate. And if you have cars like parked up against, because right now we don't have any parking restrictions. I mean, we have the day, but we don't have like no parking here to corner or anything like that, or yellow striping. And if you're parked like up to this, how would an ambulance or something get in there? And so I think there are questions like that perhaps, again, like rather than wait till March when the kids are trying to park, or maybe we just want to understand where are they going to park and where are kids going to be entering these kind of questions, so that, again, when March comes, it's clear to everybody what's going to be happening.
Yes, Manager?
Just based, and we had this part of this conversation earlier today, but I'm going to direct the police department and the township engineer to do an analysis in terms of the parking, the proximity for safety reasons, and make a decision to recommend to the mayor and council whether or not we should put some of those parking restrictions, et cetera, there. I mean, this is not a new function there. It just moved the field, and it doesn't affect traffic flows, and the seating is minimal. They only play after school. This is not about lights. There was no application for lights. That's a whole different issue if the governing body wants to address the issue of lights on fields, but that's not before us today, nor is traffic on football days and those things. This is just about the approval of the field and the moving the field from one side to the other. It really didn't impact traffic. There's a nominal amount of seating there. So when there's no games on the weekends, and the only time, there's a tournament game is if they're in it. I attended 2 of their tournament games at Nishwain, and I don't think there was 25 people there to watch the game. So it's not something that brings a crowd. It's not at night. It's not on weekends. But we can address those safety issues.
Yeah, just because I think, go ahead,
yes,
sorry.
no.
Just that I think the field has been reoriented so it's closer to housing.
Yes.
And so just to make sure, that fencing
Right.
and everything is appropriate. So,
I do think that there are some residents who think that going before the board would have enabled them to force them to keep, the field situated where it was. Talking to our attorney said that was not the case, but I do think that was a result they were hoping for there. But That was not on the table. What was before us was this application.
And they can't use lights without us,
No,
without somebody
There's nothing.
approving
They'd have to
it.
go- They would have to go and get the variance for the lighting, I believe, unless we have a policy that prohibits it.
Correct, yeah, they'd have to get the.
That's very clear.
Or
That was not-
or a new zoning ordinance would have to be.
Yes.
That would permit the use. Adopted, that would be.
That was not the Board of Ed's
I mean-
intent when Dr. Pons, I mean, to interrupt, when Dr. Pons was alive, because we had a long conversation about lighting, and he said he was not going to seek lighting for there, but I can't speak for the new acting superintendent. I've not had the same conversation with him, but as far as I know, no one has indicated to us any intent of putting lights up.
Thank you. So we'll continue this. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on that topic?
No, I did have a question for Mr. Burr to try to help maybe, I guess, wrap our heads around it. As legislators, we have the power of the pen, if you will, to maybe review some of these ordinances and make changes if we need to going forward. Is that correct?
Correct.
I just wanted to verify that. Thank you.
Councilor Birmingham?
So I will just finish because I know we have a chance to get out kind of early. So I'm gonna just repeat something that was mentioned earlier. Next Wednesday, November 20th at 7 p.m. at the Quaker Meeting House, 289 Park Street, is the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and that is a really moving ceremony. So that, and then, and I know, I mean, Councilor Toller, you are likely going to mention this too, but I was, so we can give it a double plug, but the event on Saturday at the Montclair Art Museum, The Last Waltz, the fundraiser for Tony's Kitchen, which is at the museum, doors open at 6:30. I'm going to be away this weekend, so I'm very sorry to miss it, but I do have tickets, so if anyone needs them, hit me up. But anyway, that's it for me. Thank you all.
Councilor Lockman?
No, I have nothing to report.
Deputy Mayor?
Okay. Well, first, I'm going to go down this list. This Friday from 11 to 2 in this building, there's going to be a public event that is being hosted by Assemblywoman Alexon Cleazos-Gill. She's going to be here with somebody from the Division of Taxation to assist constituents, including Montclair residents, with applying for anchor tax relief. And I just wanted to mention that that is a benefit that is available to both renters and property owners, which I'm not sure. I've been hearing that many renters don't realize that they might be eligible. So I'd encourage anyone who feels like they need help in person, face-to-face, to come during those hours. Also, on Friday, just wanted to mention that AAPI New Jersey is having its second annual gala. I think tickets might still be available.
That is this Friday?
This Friday, and yes, this Friday. And let me know if you want to come, because the one of the honorees is the legendary Connie Chung, which I'm very excited about.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. And then, of course, the event at the Montclair Art Museum. I went. I'm unable to go because of the conflict with the gala, but I went last year. The event to benefit Tony's Kitchen, and it's really fun. And I'm so glad that they're having it at a bigger venue. Also, just really quick, just tomorrow, actually, 6:30 to 7:30, there's an event being hosted by Start Out Fresh Intervention Programs. So it's an event at the Montclair Public Library from 6:30 to 7:30, and it's a discussion about healthy versus unhealthy relationships. And it's geared towards teens, ages 13 to 18. Registration is required, but I would encourage anyone to, to have their teens registered. I think that's a really important discussion. going to skip the interfaith service because Eileen already said that. And also, I just wanted to mention that I'm having a community meeting on December 5th, which is a Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30, this time at the Bellevue branch of the public library. Really quickly, a very brief update on the town manager search. We've been told that questionnaires have been received for candidates who, some of the candidates, and we have received CVs from additional candidates, and we're going to be scheduling initial interviews very shortly. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Williams?
Don't really have a lot to say. I'm very pleased with the South Willow change that, we've been kind of talking about it, and I know that's going to make a lot of residents happy, especially the folks that live at 2 Willow Street. So a couple of the things that I'm working on a lot of things, but some of the things that I'm trying to get done before this year is the overnight parking. It's just a lot of data and information and things of that nature. I'm getting emails probably just about every day from different folks, and just learning a lot about some of the hardships that folks are going through and things of that nature. And so we're compiling all the data. The head of the parking utility is going to give us some additional data, and we're trying to work as quickly as we possibly can here to put something before the council and, answer any questions and things of that nature as quickly as possible. Also, looking to continue to work with Forest Street. Thank you, Attorney Burr, for looking into the ordinance, so looking to continue working on that. And in the background, I'm also still trying to put together my ward basketball tournament, looking at Councilor Toller. She has a bunch of ringers on, I'm sure, right? Yeah, I know. But in any event, it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's what I'm working on. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Toller?
Thank you. Just to piggyback off of your overnight or your parking data, just making sure that you can share, continue to share your spreadsheets, because I'd like to see if these violations are overnight or just during the day. And please don't forget about the 4th Ward. We have a lot of residents with some concerns down there as well. Just wanted to remind folks that the Montclair History Center is having their fundraiser tomorrow at Trivia Night at Just Jake's. You can buy your tickets at the History Center, on the History Center's website. As Councilor Birmingham stated, the last waltz will be at the Montclair Art Museum this weekend. And the Montclair NAACP Youth Council, partnering with the Montclair High School's Black Student Union, they're having an open mic food drive on November 15th from 7 to 9 p.m. at Sankofa Cafe, located at, I think it's 319 Orange Road. You can bring and donate a food item when you come, and they're going to have some open mic poetry with the students, so that should be a really fun event. There is no charge, but they're asking that you please bring a food item.
What was the time?
Can, 7 to 9, November 15th. That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that's really all I have for this week. Thank you.
I'd just like to let everyone know that as the mayor of this township, the foremost responsibility that I do believe that I'd be safe in saying, all of us sitting up here, the responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of every resident, every employer, every visitor, anyone that comes and traverses through our township. And the safety of our streets and our neighborhoods are definitely a priority for myself. And even though we have not discussed and finalize the list of our priorities as a council. Hopefully, we'll be doing that when we have our retreat meeting. I feel very comfortable in saying that the majority of us that are here probably share the importance of that. And I say that because we've been experiencing a lot in terms of traffic incidents. And I'm not sure yet how much of that is a result of the increasing density and people moving in, people moving out, coming from different places. I don't know. But whatever the cause is, we've got to do better. And I'm committing to doing that. We can do that in some immediate things that we can do, and then we can phase in some other things. And I've been working with the team, and very, very helpful on that is Councilor Eric D'Amato. And I don't know if you wanted to say anything at all after I'm finished saying what I'm saying, because it's important that everybody out here understands that these things are important to us. And while we may not, at this point in time, you may not see the movement, almost every day we're addressing these issues. And we know just this weekend we had a horrific incident over in the South End. And Montclair notoriously has been known as a neighborhood where people can walk and bike, and they even had the slogan, bikes and feet or whatever on every street and different things like that. And we've got to really make that a reality in this township. And so I'm committing to do whatever is necessary, enhanced crosswalks and speed humps, traffic circles to slow down the traffic, especially the areas near schools and parks and those residential areas where we have people that are known to be differently abled, whether they're seniors or other people. Increased enforcement, we have to look at that, and improved pedestrian infrastructure, such as better signage, lighting, and designated bike lanes. So for anyone listening, I can't enforce enough, I can't say enough about the importance of public safety to us, and let you know that we do have committees of us working on that, along with the Vision Zero, whether we move into something, and whether it's safe streets, whether it's complete streets, whether it's Vision Zero, whether we combine them, council members, along with other people who've been working on this over the years. It's going to take all of us together, working together. It's going to take commitment from anyone that is receiving this message to do better. And so please know that. And I don't know if anyone else wanted to chime in on the importance of this. When we were at the last Vision Zero meeting, it was brought to our attention perhaps that we're not verbal enough about the importance of this matter to us. So I just wanted to say that. Deputy Mayor, would you like to also mention something about that?
Sure. So the mayor, Councilor D'Amato, and I are the council liaisons to the Vision Zero Task Force. We had a really good meeting last Friday, and we are working through the ordinance right now so that we can put it forward and get these policies codified into law. But yes, communication, I think, is a really big part of this, and education. Being able to collect information from residents. And I would also encourage people to visit the section of the township website that is the Vision Zero Task Force section of the website. It has a lot of really good information about what the task force has been doing, what they're working on. And we're all working on it together because this is a township. This has to be a township-wide effort.
Mm-hmm. And I know also that our health department is doing some amazing things in addition. And I don't know, again, did you wish to say anything now? I know it's a little premature, but you've been working so hard on.
You said it all almost.
Okay.
I would just say that we're very close. As legislators, we're working to craft a good law, a good overarching law, which is a complete streets ordinance that will involve changes to the structure of the government, And we have to do that very mindfully, because we can't just take somebody else's rules and apply it to us, because we are a special place.
Yes.
And so, and everybody's being very, very thoughtful and just, looking at those arrangements and the things that will, as I've been telling people, to make a law that is tough but not brittle, something that won't just break when it hits reality, which has happened in the past. We want something that's strong but flexible, and that works for us as a community, and that will also leverage the outspokenness of a lot of people in the community and allow us to absorb the great knowledge that people have, and make it work well. And hopefully we'll get on that pronto presto within a couple of weeks. Hopefully it'll get out.
Thank you. Manager LaPola?
I have nothing else to add, Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
I have no report, thank you, Mayor.
Attorney Burr?
Mayor, I have nothing at this time.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. There's an item on here to talk about some council protocols, but we've decided, we have called for a meeting, a retreat, because we have to discuss council committee protocols, we have to discuss a lot of things, and we need to have the time to do that. And I've been working very closely with Madam Clerk to provide some documents and some other things that we're going to have available at the time that we have these discussions. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay. Any abstain? Okay. Have a good evening, and thank you for watching.